can you hear me?
I can, Claire.
Oh, okay, fine. Yeah, okay. I just was logging in and I was going, nobody can hear me. Okay.
Okay, so Claire, this project had issues concerning insufficient information on the landscape. Did you get a chance to review these that we were supposed to review now? Did you get a chance?
Yes, I did. Yeah, no, I reviewed both C1 and C2, and I don't know that I have anything to say specifically. I mean, because it was so difficult to read the plans, the writing on it on my computer. I could see the plan and I could see what was being proposed, but I couldn't read any of the call outs and stuff. And I think that was just a technical issue. So that's, I think that this is fine and ready to go.
Okay.
I can zoom in on the plan for you, Claire, if you want.
It's fine. It was mostly what it was, Dave. It was like the general notes. I couldn't read those.
Okay.
Yeah. So, but from what I can see, I think that they've done everything that we've asked them to do.
Okay.
Okay, so David, there are several sets in this folder, as you know. Could you go to the architectural set, please? PDF page 11, please.
Okay.
Upper left-hand corner, there's a detail of a parapet cap.
Yeah, that doesn't exist. I need to take that out.
So you're not using that anywhere?
No, I meant to cross that one out. My apologies.
Okay, very good. And I believe
Dave can just cross it out right now.
I believe, David, I believe it's PDF page 15. Okay, so there are lights right there. It's light number 10, second row, third column.
Yep.
I'm not sure that's night sky compliant.
Yeah, I think what I need to do actually with this one is go to the manufacturer, because they actually come with different ways so this one's a gas powered one, so it's just like an open flame. I think that they do other ones that have a shielded version. Okay. I need to get it from the manufacturer, but this was just like a reference image showing the style. But I think you might be right in terms of the dark sky compliance. I need to just verify with that manufacturer.
And John, do we know whether the ordinance or all of this actually deals with gas lights or not?
No, but I know how to construct a motion, so we don't have to worry about it.
Oh, thank you. Okay.
Okay, and Michael, in the landscape plans,
yes,
I saw 0 site lighting.
Yes, we're not planning on doing
none. No path lights, no step lights. Nothing.
I mean, the really what we were trying to do was just leave the sconces on the building itself as the illumination, but the plan was not to do any path lighting or anything like that.
Okay, I just want to make sure because it is a rarity in this time and age. Okay, so Claire, with these comments, I'm ready to recommend approval. Are you
Yes.
concurrent with that? Okay, so
yes. And I just want to actually acknowledge the architect of this. That I mean, I know this was a long haul, and I really appreciate that you actually worked with us as much as I mean, I know it was a big deal to change everything and do what you did, and and I think you've got a really good project now that's in my world is totally approvable, and I really appreciate that you kind of stepped up and worked with us. Some people don't.
I very much appreciate comments, good or bad. I think I've learned in my career that any comment is good, and we're obviously trying to build a long-term relationship with you guys as we do future work over there. So I really appreciate the comments. I think everything was great. Like, I didn't have any objections to the comments, just made the project better for us. So I appreciate your comments as well.
I am prepared to approve it. Are you, Claire?
Yes.
Okay, excellent. So thank you, Michael. What happens is it takes about 5 to 7 minutes to go through the beginning of the agenda at 1 o'clock. Then we'll get to the consent calendar. That's where the actual motion will get made, and so far the board has gone along with our recommendations, but you have to, I can't guarantee that will happen. Right. Okay, item C2, Bob, how are you?
Thanks, guys.
I'm good, John and Claire and Dave. Thank you.
So David, there are again several sheets here. There's one entitled the full set.
Yes.
And on PDF page 3 of that set. Exactly. In the upper left-hand corner, there's a gunite wall, and Tom Boulay actually brought that before us at one point, this exact image. What's happening with this wall? Are you responsible for this? Is Tom Boulay?
No, Johnson is responsible. This is the typical upslope condition along the entire length of the Johnson driveway, which is about 750 feet from the shared turnaround all the way up to the residence.
Okay, so I did not see a detail for this. Obviously, it's sculptural. It's got oddly placed rebar in order to get that unique shape. There's some cut lines in the concrete to make it look like this. How do we know as a community that it's going to end up looking like that?
Well, first of all, I think Tom Boulay proposed this, asked us to agree to this, which we did. So he'll be involved. We want the 3 owners that our owner and Tom Boulay's owner and Don Nolte's client have all agreed that this is what we want to see up there.
Okay.
So, that's the best assurance I can give you.
And this is from what I understand, it's on a private road. It's a private access. It's and
That's correct.
this particular wall is really not on this applicant's property. It's on these other people are part of the.
Actually, Claire, there's an easement, a right-of-way easement, and this is on Don Nolte's clients. It's
Got it. Okay.
And our client's property.
Okay. Well, okay. Got it.
Okay. And David, there is a landscape set of drawings, please.
Dan, are you able to join us?
Okay.
My associate Dan Parenti should be on it.
Okay, so PDF 11, please. Okay, so Bob, on the left-hand side of the garage, Dave, there are 3 moonlit trees. That's all the moon, symbol B, Betty.
Yes.
Those are the only moonlit trees I saw on the entire project. It didn't seem to me to be particularly relevant over there, although I thought because of the proximity to the property line that they might have spilled at least a minor amount of light to the west and onto the trail. Do you have any comment about that, please?
Are you asking me?
Yeah. Do you have
the trail is significantly downslope and to the west.
Okay. And Claire,
I do believe, because I actually did drive up there recently. These are existing oaks.
Yes, they are.
And from what I've seen now, driving up there to actually check out the trail, I don't think there's going to be any impact because they're buried. And I think that I'm assuming that we did our 10 to 12 foot height, that they're really, I mean, you're not going to see them at all because these are pretty significant oak trees.
Okay, so you're okay with them as
Yeah, I'm
proposed?
absolutely okay with them. I knew this was coming and that's kind of why I did my homework.
Okay, excellent. And we have a little ambiguity or a little flexibility in what we have been approving. I would love as specifications county Montecito wide, 10 to 12 feet. Do you have a feeling about these mounted no higher than such and such? These moonlights?
Well, I mean, I think, are you asking me or are you asking the applicant?
I'm asking Claire Gottstanker,
Okay.
the lighting czar.
No, I'm actually not the lighting czar, but
I am the lighting czar. I understand that.
I really, you know, but I think that staying with what we've been doing with other applicants, this 10 to 12 feet above grade height is how it should be.
So would you therefore say a maximum of 12?
Yes.
Okay.
We're fine with that.
Okay, and then Bob, they're on the architectural sheets. Please, David. And I did not write down, but down into the detailing, please. This is the first time, Bob, I've seen your office really produce an abundance of detail. I'd like to compliment you on that.
Nice, thank you.
I know it takes time. Okay, so maybe the next sheet would be a little better. And the next sheet, please. Okay, that sheet right there in the top upper right hand images. Bob, I'm fine with these details, but I'm not completely convinced you've solved the waterproofing here. I'm not sure that that's anything that we have to do, but one guy to another, I think that you ought to really take a hard look at all of your waterproofing in here.
All right.
Okay.
Appreciate the heads up.
Yeah. Okay. And Claire, are you ready to approve item C, recommend approval for item C2?
Yes, I am.
And so am I. So Bob, you heard what we said. Somewhere 7 to 10 minutes into the meeting, we'll have the actual motion. I will make it that maximum of 12 feet for the moonlight.
All right.
Okay.
All right.
And that concludes the consent calendar for today. We're not quite there in terms of 1 o'clock for Bill Wolf, but I sign off at this point. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Okay, hello, everybody. I show 1 o'clock on the clock here. We have everybody online. We have Kimberly, are you there? I see your name
I am here.
here. Okay.
Hello.
I see Dawn Sharp, and I know John is there. Claire is there. I see Sam. I know Dave is on, so I think we have enough for a quorum. So let's get rolling. We're all ready to go. Tip will be out today. He was unavailable. So let's get started on the agenda here for July 29th at the Montecito Board of Architecture Review, July 29th, 2021. Let's start with our item 1, public comment. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak to items that are not on our agenda today? Leah, I didn't ask if you were there. Leah, are you there?
Hi, Mr. Chair. Good afternoon. Let's see. If you would like to speak on general public comment, go ahead and use the raise your hand feature. Mr. Chair, at this time, we do not have any requests to speak.
Okay, all right, then we will close public comment and we'll go on to item 2, agenda status report. Is there any changes to the agenda today?
There are no changes to today's standard agenda that I am aware of.
Okay, and I believe, Dave Mendro, you have a conflict on item 4. So
That's
you'll
correct.
be muting, and we'll move forward with that. Okay, let's go to item 3, the minutes. We do have minutes from, I'm gonna bring those up, Dave. Okay, unapproved minutes from June 15th, 2021. Does anybody, any of the board members have any changes or modifications to that minutes?
Mr. Chairman,
John Watson, go forward.
surprise, surprise. The first one I'd like to make is that it was actually the July 15th meeting, not the June 15th
Oh.
meeting.
Okay,
And that shows up on the cover page and then on the header on every subsequent page. So, and I'd like to welcome Kimberly's name to the masthead there. Okay, item C4. We normally have the vote 5-0, 6-0, whatever it is, and it is missing on item C4. I believe it was 6-0 in favor. Okay, so that was item C, consent item number 4.
so we had six people, 6 board members
I
vote.
think we all voted for it. Okay, then item number 4, comment number 5. I actually chatted with Kimberly about this. And after reading this, I'd like to ask the board the question. It says, as it's written, it says, restudy addition on west to ensure architectural continuity throughout entire project. I'm wondering if it would be better if we said restudy south elevation to ensure architectural continuity. Do other people have a feeling one way or the other about that? Anybody?
Anybody else? I was
Nope.
absent.
That was the project that Dara, I can't remember her last name, completely changed the west elevation, western
yeah.
part of it. So do you care one way or the other, addition on west or changing that to south elevation? Anybody care?
Nope. No.
Okay,
No.
let's leave it the way it is. Item number 5. Comment number 2. One member believes, I'd like to add the word retaining wall should be more natural stone materials. And I think we don't need the justification for it to settle into the environment. I think it can just say, one member believes retaining wall should be more natural stone material, period.
That's
Okay.
fine.
Okay. Item number 7, at the lower right-hand corner of that is under the comments column, I'd like to suggest remove cypress and move pole location and then strike the words north to the north and say as close to northern property line or northern property corner as possible.
I think it's the northwest corner.
Northeast, actually, in
Oh,
this case.
Oh, okay.
But as close to the northeast property corner as possible.
Which, yeah, that makes sense. It would snug it up into that tree. the
Into
big
that
ficus.
tree,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
And they'll come back and they say, we've got to stay 10 feet away or so. Fine. You know,
Yeah, but as close as possible, snug it away.
right. Okay. Then on the very next page at the top, it says Mavis moved, seconded by Watson, Wolfengang, to withdraw the first, and I don't think it's motion. I think it's to withdraw the approval that we had just given. That's what we did. We withdrew the approval. And then the next thing is correct. And that's all that I have, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Okay,
Yeah, I think that's good. Let's just strike that. Because
Strike what?
well, it says Maphis moved, seconded by Watson to withdraw the first motion.
No, yeah, and I think it's just say to withdraw the approval. We had just granted it an approval. It was still not a motion. It was an actual action that we took.
Was it a preliminary approval? Or did
It
we-
was.
Okay.
And we pulled that back because
We needed more information.
no, because there were not two BAR numbers, there were not two OUP numbers, you know. So
Okay,
rather
so-
than trying to divide it, Alex always said one approval period, and it's kind of living in that world.
Okay, so so withdraw the approval.
Withdraw the approval.
And then the next one says continue the project.
Exactly. And that was correct. Everything about that was right.
I agree with that.
Good. And that's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
all right, thank
Mr. Chair, I do have one comment. I just got out my agenda from July 15th. And actually on C4, Mr. Watson, we never heard that. That was dropped from the agenda that day. We only heard 1, 2, and 3 that day, and it was not heard by us.
And that's why the action was Sharp move, seconded by Mendro, to drop the.
Oh, got it. Okay.
Okay, but the number 60 is or 70, whatever it is normally added as part of the motion.
Okay.
And that's what I was commenting about, the fact that the numerics were missing.
Oh, got it. Okay, fine. Okay, I just, I mean, I kind of, okay.
you. Okay, great. Was there anybody else with any comments for the minutes of July 15th? See there, I see at the top of page 4, it says July 29th.
Well, you're probably looking at today's agenda.
Oh, no, I closed the agenda.
Oh, okay.
The one where like the minutes are July 15th.
Minutes are done. Okay,
Yeah.
all right.
But I will move for approval of the minutes as amended.
I'll
Second,
second.
All right, seconded by Claire. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Opposed, the motion carries. All right, let's go on to item 4, today's Montecito consent agenda.
Mr. Chairman, Claire Godstanker and John Watson reviewed that agenda today. We had 2 items. For item number C1, we do recommend approval with the following comments. There's a detail number 9. It's on PDF page 11. That's a parapet. That detail is to be omitted on the drawings, on the final drawings. And number 2, there is a light proposed, light number 10, that is shown as gas. And we're not sure if it's night sky compliant or not. So the motion, so what we will do is we would recommend a motion that says number 10 is okay at gas or night sky compliance to be determined by the planner. Try to keep this thing moving on. And it should also be noted that there was no site lighting proposed in this project. Claire, do you agree with that?
Yes, I agree with that.
So I would like to make a motion to formalize this a little bit. Detail number 9, and then in parentheses, parapet detail, close parentheses, to be eliminated. Light number 10 to be either gas as shown or similar style and size that conforms to night sky compliant requirements, to be determined by the planner. And that's my motion, Mr.
And
Chairman.
then no site lighting, you said.
And note, I guess, and note, there is no site lighting approved as part of this motion.
Okay, all right. So do I have a motion there or a second? That was your motion. And a
Yeah,
second
also,
by-
I can second it.
Seconded by Claire. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? All right, motion carry. Item C1 is approved. C2.
Item C2, this is the project that Bob Irvine and William Hefner been before us in the Planning Commission for a couple of years now. And Claire and I would like to recommend approval as submitted with the moonlight, M-O-O-N, the moonlight to be mounted no higher than 12 feet above finished grade. That's my motion.
Second,
All right, seconded by Claire. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, motion carries. So that wraps up our C2, C1, C2 consent. Let's go on to item 5 for MBAR members' informational briefings. Did anyone have any meetings or information to share?
Yes, Bill, I do.
Dave?
I went to the joint chairs meeting last week,
Oh, yes. Great. Thank you
and
for doing this.
the main discussion was returning to in-person meetings, which according to staff is going to happen in August when the California governor is expected to rescind the COVID variants to the Brown Act. And with the new Brown Act requirements, the MBAR will be required to be in person, but they'll also be required to provide remote access for applicants and the public. So the staff is looking into how to do that. And so they will be creating, it's anticipated, a hybrid meeting format where we continue to look at the plans digitally, both in person and for people attending remotely, instead of having paper documents. And it may work out that if there's a quorum of MBAR members in person, then the additional members could join the meeting remotely, but that has yet to be determined. And then Tip had asked about the stipend for MBAR members, and staff indicated that that's been tabled and there's been no progress on that, and they couldn't really provide any more detailed information.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Dave, for doing that. I appreciate it.
I would just like to, nothing wrong. I just want to be really clear. I mean, I see this. Is this document, Dave, somewhere in our box somewhere so I can read it actually?
No, but I could send it to Sharon and have her distribute it. These are just my notes that I took from the meeting.
Oh, got it.
I
Okay.
wanted to be careful not to get into trouble with the Brown Act by contacting everyone. So I'm presenting this at the meeting, and I'm assuming now that we've
No,
done
it's
that.
fine, man. It's
Well,
fine. Okay. Then, oh God, I lost my question. So, oh, okay, so here's the thing, is when we go in August or September, whenever we're going to return, we are going to then be at the county and but the meetings are still going to be virtually available to people who are not there. Is that correct? So it's it's kind of like it is now, it's virtual, but when we go back in August or whenever they figure this out, it will be both virtual and in person.
Yes, but the presentations will be digital, is what they're saying. So in other words, there won't be paper on the table in front of us, that we will share a screen in the hearing room that shows the plans presented digitally, the same as it is for people attending remotely.
Got it. That's what I was trying to figure out. That's exactly what I needed to know. Okay, so yeah.
The applicants won't show up with their own drawings, or there won't be drawings rolled out, Dave. They'll present in person with cameras, so it'll be more
Yes.
filming that goes on.
Yes, they'd either come in. It's essentially what we're doing now, except we'll be sitting in a room together with computer screens.
Okay.
And if the applicants choose to come in, they can present to us in person with a shared video screen, or they can do exactly what we're doing now, where we review the project with remotely.
Interesting transitions.
Yeah, I didn't
Yes,
get
it is,
they
isn't
would
it?
figure it out totally. And that's a big step. So, but they didn't have a lot of details. This is where things are headed.
Okay.
It sounds like.
Thanks for doing that, Dave.
Sure.
So, all right, more discussion about that, I suppose. If we have questions, well, we'll contact those that are making those decisions and find out information.
Well, Kimberly's our staff, Kimberly's our staff person, and I think she would be the one to come. In my world, I would be calling Kimberly.
Frontline, is that right, Kimberly? We'll contact you.
Yes, you can absolutely contact me.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you. All right, let's go to staff update while we got you on the line, Kimberly. What anything there for staff updates that you can tell us?
There are no staff updates at this time. I will come back when I know more about the in-person meeting information when it's available.
Thank you, appreciate that. All right, let's move on to standard agenda. Item 1. Here, I'll remind everybody, the first 5 items actually have no planners assigned yet, and they're for concept review. So just keep that in mind. The planner hasn't had a chance to kind of review these and go through the nuts and bolts of them quite yet. So let's start with item 1. Is the applicant online? Introduce yourself and give us your presentation if you would. Its address is 1570 East Valley Road. Adele, are you there?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead and give us your presentation.
All right, this is 1570 East Valley Road. It is on the mountainside of East Valley Road to the east of Periwinkle Drive. And it's an old estate. It has two main gate, or it has a main gate and a secondary gate on East Valley. There's an existing 2-story single-family dwelling with an attached 2-car garage. And then to the north of the garage, there's a gym and a workshop. This is a property that has 2 pools. There's a main pool and then approximately the center of the parcel. There's also a lap pool on the west side of the property between the gym and the existing pool cabana. Let's see if we could go to the next page. These are taken from the interior of the lot, but you can see there's property line screening on all property lines. Again, there are gates on East Valley. The house is set back about 120 feet from the property line. It's not visible from the street. And see if we can go, if you look at the last row, those are pictures of the existing pool cabana. And then on the second page, there's another page of photographs. These are taken by the main pool. Again, the main pool is in about the center of the parcel. And to the east, there are large Eugenia hedges. And one of the areas, I think by the previous property owner, was used as a dining area. That's shown in photo number 20. So what we're proposing is to remove existing outdoor barbecue area and propose a dining pavilion in approximately the same location as that dining room table is shown. Removing the Eugenia hedges and keeping the elevation of that pool deck. It will need to do a little bit of grading. I think my estimate was about 16 cubic yards of grading, just to make sure that there's a smooth transition from the existing pool patio into the dining area. If you go to page A1, it's the proposed site plan. Next, that's the existing topo there. It shows you where this is where the dining pavilion is proposed. So we're centering it on the pool and giving it a relationship with that pool, and still providing additional dining even to the east. And the floor plan of the dining pavilion is on the next page. It's 469 net square feet. Since we're removing the outdoor barbecue and an outdoor pizza oven, we're relocating it into the dining pavilion and also providing a bar for entertainment. The next page is the elevations. So we'd like to use steel and glass doors, which are similar to what exists in the living room area of the main residence. And we'd like to have those doors so they could pocket into the walls. So on a nice sunny day, you'd have an area to be in a protected area where you're not directly in the sun, but on a cool evening, you'd be able to close those doors and retain some of the heat. The materials that we're proposing will match the existing residence. They currently have a dark gray, lightweight slate on the pool cabana. Exterior plaster will match the plaster on the main house and the pool cabana. Total height is, I think we're 13 feet tall. We're setting the dining pavilion 17 feet from the pool coping, and it provides at least 35 feet from the east property line. And one of the things I'd like the board to comment on is the 469 square feet that we're proposing calculates to be 62 square feet over the recommended DAB floor area. I know in the past I've presented projects where the main residence was over square footage, but I have not been before the board when there's additional square footage over the detached accessory buildings. And I'm available if there are any questions.
All right, thank you, Adele. Let's go to questions from the board. Claire, do you have any questions?
Well, yeah, let's go back to what, Adele, what you're saying is the overall FAR calculation of the entire project, it is not just the new part, but all of it is 118. And that would, on a 1.55 parcel, right? Is that what I'm understanding?
Yes, that's correct.
Because the house itself is actually bigger than what we would have approved if it was the house, right?
That's correct. And this,
yeah, okay, that's fine.
We're not proposing any square footage to the main residence, but the DAB goes over the recommended floor area that gets kicked into the main residence calcs.
That's my only question.
Okay, all right, thank you, Claire. Sam Maphis, questions?
Yeah, can we go back to the site plan again? I just want to look at this dining pavilion and other accessory buildings on the property. If we could blow that up. So the main house is the big L shape. I see that. It's got what looks like a garage. There's really, okay, there's a pool cabana that relates to, I guess, the other lap pool. And then this pavilion will relate to the bigger center pool. There's no other buildings there. Where is that? There was one photograph, Adele, of what looked like a dining table and a fireplace kind of tucked into a corner. I'm trying to figure out where that is. Is that in this
That's right
location?
where this is.
That's actually, it's attached to the main residence, and it's at the corner where, let's see.
Patio.
Where the two car, where there are two car in the garage. And if you
Okay.
move a little bit to the right.
It's on the back side of that. Oh, I see it. It's that little kind of U-shaped
It's,
area right there to the right.
A little bit to the
Right, Dave.
right.
Right there.
That's the outdoor fireplace and the outdoor barbecue. And we're proposing to have that demolished. And then we'd like to relocate it to the dining pavilion.
Oh, I see. I was just thinking that there was kind of a double use. You have that area, but you're not going to really use that. The pavilion's going to take that place. Okay. Thank you. That's the questions I had.
Okay, thank you, Sam. Don Sharp, question.
I have no questions. Thank you.
Okay. John Watson, did you have questions?
I have at least two. Adele, on the FAR calculation, you have an attached loft. What is that?
Yes, let's go to the photographs. Let's see. If you go to photograph,
10.
let's see, photograph 11. This is the north elevation of the residence structure. So again, the main residence is closer to the street. Then next to that is an attached two-car garage. And then attached to that is a gym and a workshop, and it does have a loft area in it.
So it's, in essence, it's the second floor.
That's correct. Yeah.
Okay, very good, thank you. Have you done any preliminary structural calculations on this proposed building?
No, I have not.
Okay. And have you looked at a quick FAR studies of surrounding properties to see whether or not they also are a little larger than the recommendations?
No, I have not. And that was one of the reasons why I wanted to get this in front of the board just at a conceptual level. So if there were other concerns or information that would be necessary when we apply for a land use permit, we want to be prepared, make sure that we have everything that the board is going to be looking for.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. That's all I have.
Okay, thank you, John. Dave Mendro, did you have questions?
Just one question. What was the FAR prior to adding the new dining pavilion?
That's on the cover sheet. And the project statistics on there, if you zoom into number 7.
David, let me try to answer that. From an FAR point of view only, she's adding 62 square feet to the project.
62 square feet. So the house is already 116%.
It's 1% larger than the existing house.
So you're increasing that by, okay, that's what I was asking. Thanks, John.
You're welcome.
Is that it, Dave?
Yep, that's it.
Could you go to the floor plan real quick, Dave?
Sure.
And this might be a question for Kimberly, and it might be the logistics of it, but I mean, it's accessory use, so you can only have a 7-foot long counter and no cooking. How does it work when it's like this? You've got a barbecue and a full kitchen and a bar. That's a planning thing, not necessarily for our purview, but just a heads up more than anything, Adele. It seems like that might not be something you could get approved with all of those things going on inside there, that it reads as a different structure than accessory. Kimberly, what's your thought?
I have had discussions with my client about that. And I've also been in communication with flood control, because this is one of the parts that we will need to address the BFE. So if because it's an enclosed structure as designed today, if that becomes an issue where the planning department could not support that, then we would go to an open air structure and remove the doors.
Does that, Kimberly, change the ability to have cooking and bar and counter and all the rest of it?
Mr. Chair, I believe when I was intaking this BAR application, I sent an advisory to Adele voicing the same concerns about the configuration and the amenities. If they go to a more open, unenclosed space, then there's a little more flexibility with the type of amenities that they can have. But as designed, I have concerns that this is inconsistent with the ordinance. Of course, the planner will have to do a full review.
Right. Okay. Last question. Do you have a 45-foot long pool? Are your pools at least 45 feet long too? I guess that's already an existing cabana. This isn't a cabana anyway. So this is a dining pavilion. So that's different. So disregard that question. Okay. That was all I had. Let's go on to public comment. Public comment. Is there anyone in the audience that has any comments on this item? 1570 East Valley Road. Leah, do you have anybody raising their hand? Leah, are you there?
I do not have any requests to speak.
Okay, great. All right, then we'll close public comment. We'll go to the considerations of the board members. Claire, what are your thoughts on this?
Well, I think that this is, an acceptable project, and I think that it's something that the owners, are asking for, and I think it should be moved along so that Adele can move into and get her, because I would approve this project, but it's not at the part where we can approve it. So I think that it just needs to get moved on, and then the planning department, once Adele gets an assigned planner, Adele can deal with the land use issues with the
Interiors.
with questions that we're asking are land use issues, and I think that's up to the planner, and she doesn't have a planner yet. So I think this, for me, this project is acceptable, and come back when you have a planner.
All right, thank you, Claire. Sam, anything different?
Well, I just think it's well cited. I can understand an outdoor dining area next to an existing pool with these kinds of amenities. It is enclosed, and I think that's a planning issue, so that should be assigned. But I don't see it pushing any property line setback issues. It's internal. It's in the middle of the site. The site is very established and has a lot of good privacy, so it doesn't look like this building at all will affect any neighborhood compatibility. So I too think it's a good proposal, and I'd like to move it along and see if we can flesh out some of the planning issues, but it seems appropriate to me. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Sam. Don Sharp, your comment?
Well, I agree with Sam's comments. However, I wish it was more than just a rectangle box, a rectilinear box. It does not, in my opinion, tie in with the existing residence. It's just it needs some juxtaposition to give it some character as the existing home has. And I think the roof slope should be identical. And as Adele has said, the exterior materials will be, but it needs some massaging to make it a little more interesting.
Maybe a cupola.
Well, or a chimney or something that,
Yeah,
but it may be
Could be a dormer.
with two functions on the inside. Maybe it could be L-shaped or at an angle, or tie in more with the house rather than just be a rectangle like that.
All right. Thank you, Don. John Watson, what are your comments?
From a very technical standpoint of view, I have never done an interior barbecue like that, but I strongly suspect that's going to require a Class 1 hood, which is, got the fire sprinklers thing inside of it. And as I understand it, it's about a $10,000 ad. And I would want the applicant to make sure that they are aware what they're walking into, if I'm right. Or if I'm wrong, they know that I'm wrong. Second of all, again, a little bit technical. The reason I ask about whether or not the structural engineering had been done on this, when I looked at the elevations, they looked like the doors and the roof were awfully close together. And if you do have a pocket door, I understand that you're pocketing it behind a proposed wall, and you could have the structural wall closest to the exterior. But even so, I think you're going to have very tight construction there. And I think the building would probably be a little bit better if the roof raised somewhat to give it a little bit more air above the head up to the underside of the roof. And I think that this board should be consistent with the FARs, and that we should ask Adele to go and look at the surrounding properties and see whether or not there are other larger properties in the area. When I looked at the photo mapper photo that was provided to us in our packet, it looked to me like you have some houses in the immediate area that also are in excess of the FAR. To have that documented and show the consistency for planning, as the Board of Supervisors has asked us to do in terms of compatibility with the FAR time and time again, I think that that'd be a relatively simple thing to do. And then we would have an informed document where we can make a decision. In terms of, besides that, I understand Don's comment. I'm not so sure I agree with it. I think that these doors are going to be set back in, and I think it could be very nice, but it's going to have, if you have a barbecue in there, it's going to have some kind of a chimney or something. So that's all I have, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, John. Dave Mendra, what are your comments?
I agree with Sam's comments about the siding and that it's appropriately placed and the scale of it and everything's fine. And I do agree with John that if they can provide the FAR documentation so that we can sign off on it being slightly higher than the FAR. But generally, I think it's a nice project, and if we can get that information, I can support it.
Okay, thank you, Dave. Yeah, I agree. I think a FAR study, let's get that in place, have you do that. I understand Don's comments too about maybe some little bit of detail, maybe it's a dormer window or something. And as John mentioned too, you will have some kind of super exhaust for that barbecue. So you're gonna probably have some kind of chimney element, certainly, to either house a vent or make a chimney out of it, whatever, going to however needs to work. So I think that's fine. I think in terms of the siding, I'm fine with it. I think the size is fine. This mass bulk and scale is good. So I don't have any problem with it, generally speaking. And I think that's it. So yeah, so get a planner going, work out the details of the interior there with the planner, and we'll see you back here next time.
Great. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. Let's move on to item 2, 570 Meadowwood Lane. Do we have the applicant online? Is the applicant here for 570 Meadowwood Lane? Looks like David Scott Parker.
It looks like he was raising his hand, so maybe he needs to be.
Leah, can you let him speak if he's not able to?
Mr. Chair, but while we're getting the agent on,
Yes.
can you tell me what the first item will be coming back for, further conceptual?
No,
Now, how do I get so they can see?
Yeah, I guess so, since the
well,
plan-
it's up, I mean, if she gets a planner, why can't the planner agendize it the way the planner sees it? I mean, because for me, we've actually gone through much of the conceptual, we've given her the things. So if we are the one that can make that decision, which we're not, I would be saying that to have this return for preliminary, it's a really straightforward project, or further conceptual. But that's up to the planning department, not us.
I mean, I'm fine with the preliminary review.
I could say we could push it to preliminary if the zoning and some of the other things prove to be okay. We need to check the FARs.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. All right. Item 2, is David Scott Parker there, 570 Meadowwood Lane?
Yes.
Okay.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
Yes, thank you. I'm David Parker, architect. I'm here representing Meadowwood Lane LLC, the owner of the property at 570 Meadowwood Lane. Meadowwood Lane is a small private drive accessed on the north side of Sycamore Canyon Road. The property, I should probably note, is currently vacant. The house that was on this lot was destroyed by the debris flow in 2018, and we are proposing a new 2-story residence of approximately 2,360 square feet on the property. So if we go to the site plan. Yes. This is an interior lot, as I said, accessed from Meadowwood Lane, a private drive. The property is fairly level. When the debris flow occurred, it changed the grades here. And so we've been working very closely with Paul Cook, surveyor, to determine the recovery elevations, the recovery grades, and the proposed schematic design that we're sharing with you has been designed with both FEMA and Santa Barbara County flood standards in mind, so that the ground floor elevation would be 2 feet above a base flood elevation. The civil engineer who will be working on the project with us is Jason Gotsis from Ashley Vance. The house as proposed is toward the center of the lot. There is an easement that runs along, that is in the north east corner of the property, which we're staying out of. And the house has specifically been cited in order to make it as close to grade, as close to the recovery grade as possible, because the client specifically didn't want a house that looked like it was up on stilts. And so if we could go to the elevations. Yes, thank you. The upper left-hand elevation would be the west elevation of the home, and you'll note that the roof pitch. This is a 3 pitch. The house has specifically been designed with sustainability in mind, and as part of that, the roof as proposed is a Tesla stealth roofing material, which is photovoltaic but does not look like photovoltaic, which is one of the great things about it. And if we look at, this is the west elevation. If we go to the elevation that is to the right of this on the sheet. Thank you. This is the north elevation, which faces toward Montecito Peak. And the door is on this side. You can see that there is a brise-soleil that goes over the door, the front door, and there are brise-soleils that go around the back of the building as well to provide some sunshade. Could we shift to the other two elevations?
Oh, these flip out.
Yeah, and so the elevation in the lower left corner it would be the east elevation, and the one in the lower right corner is the southern elevation of the building. If we could go to the page before this, and so that I could just, yeah, this is the plan. Let's go just before the plans where there are the views from this site, which, yes, that.
Okay.
And so as I mentioned in the beginning, the house is essentially in the middle of the lot. There are some existing trees on the property, and the house has been positioned specifically to not affect those trees that survive the debris flow. The trees, there are some live oaks, which of course are protected, and the other trees are sycamore. The site plan, as we're looking at it on the page, north would be to the left, and that looks toward Montecito Peak. And then that view you can see on the left-hand side of the page. The top of the page is looking to the east, and that's vacant. And in the far distance, there's a house up on the hill there. If you look to the left-hand side of the sheet, that would be the view to the south, and that's really the only neighbor that you see from this property. That is the house at 560 Meadowood Lane, and we have a letter from the owner of that property saying that they have no objections to our proposal. And then the two views on the lower portion of the page are both looking to the west, and there is a vacant lot there that actually I will be presenting to you a proposal for a separate house on that property, which is owned by the same Meadowood Lane LLC as owns this property that I'm sharing with you now. The proposed building is not visible from public road. As I noted, Meadowood Lane is a private drive. The adjoining neighbors' houses that are to the south are all sited significantly higher than this proposed structure, except for the one at 560, which, as I mentioned, we have a letter from them saying that they have no objections. And then there is a house on the hill to the south west of this property. That house is essentially sited at elevation 330, which is at the ground floor of that house, and the peak of our roof is at 324. So the peak of our roof is actually 5 or 6 feet lower than the ground floor level of that house. As I mentioned, the house has been designed with sustainability in mind, which provides the rationale for the south-facing roof slopes. The mechanical system for the building will be geothermal, again, sustainable, which also means no outdoor condensers will be required. The two renderings that you see on the page now, in the upper left, That is a view looking at the building from the southwest. And you can see that there is a deck that is elevated approximately 3 feet above the grade as it currently exists. The image in the lower right is a close-up of that terrace. I should note that the proposed materials of the building are cedar, which would be chemically treated to be fire retardant, with the foundations being a local field stone. The windows are, and also the brise soleil that are cantilevered from the to give some sunshade to the large windows, are proposed to be powder coated aluminum, and the window we're suggesting might be a product similar to windows manufactured by Schuco. There will, of course, be a complete planting plan for the property, and that all remains to be developed. And as we are working with landscape architect Mark Tessier on that to submit to you at our next meeting. The plantings are anticipated to, and the desire is that everything be native and look natural to this environment. And I think that's it.
Great. All right. Thank you, David. Let's go to questions of the board members. Sam, do you have any questions?
Question about the site plan. Maybe could you revisit the site plan, and I'll ask you to explain to me how the auto guests and the homeowners arrive. It was hard for me to discern in the site plan where the car might be, where a garage might be, where the cars might park. Is that a road that through there? So I guess with just the footprint of the building, I was at a loss as to how the site actually functioned.
Yes. You can see where the driveway widens, or the road widens. And this, by the way, is a new lane coming in, which would be designed for
where
fire
is the
trucks.
road coming? Is the road coming from the right to the left on this plan?
It comes from the right and goes left, yes. And then the road continues across this property. There's an easement going across this property to provide access to the property to the west, which is also a proposal that we'll be sharing with you as the next item on your agenda. It's proposed that there would be grasscrete for guests parking here, and you can see there are steps going up to the front door from the area of the Grasscrete Drive. Yes, that's it.
So it's a kind of a parallel parking drive, drop off?
Yes.
No,
yes.
no covered parking proposed?
No.
Okay, that's what I was just unclear on, how the car got there and the people got to the front door. So that helps me a little bit, but you're going to be bringing back a full developed landscape plan at a later date. So that's all the questions to this point.
Okay, all right, thank you, Sam. John Watson, do you have any questions?
I do. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Projects have their own individual development path, each one of them, as we all know. And this project has ended up so far as being two simple rectangles that are adjoined. Was there ever consideration of developing a project that had other massing configurations besides this?
We studied a few configurations for it. The one premise that we started with was the notion of sustainability and the desire to have the roof be the photovoltaic Tesla stealth roofing material. And so the need was for the roof forms to actually face south. And we studied the program relative to that desired and need. The way the house is arranged is essentially the public spaces, which is a great room and kitchen, are in the volume that would be to the west, that steps forward toward the drive, and then the volume that is toward the east, stepped back, is a bedroom and dining. This is a very small house, which is another thing that our client specifically wanted to do, was to create a very efficiently arranged and quite small house. This house is less than half of the square footage that one would be able to build on this essentially 1.5 acre lot. And so it was really the notion of simplicity, of form, and small scale, because the house it is relatively small. Being only I think I said it's 2,360 square feet total on 2 floors.
Okay, and as a follow-up to Sam's question, do I understand that there is no covered parking being proposed for this project?
There is none proposed, no.
Very good, thank you. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
All right, thank you, John. Claire, do you have any comment or questions? All right.
Yeah, have you begun the process of meeting with the fire department? And this is driven by Sam's, question, because this is an interior lot. There's going to be, work needed between you and the fire department. So
yeah.
Have you started that work? Have
We've
they
had
been on site? Have they done anything yet?
We've had informal conversations, but they've not been on site. We have looked at these issues with Jason Gotsis from Ashley Vance, and the drive, as is shown, has been designed with the gradient that fire trucks are able to maneuver on, and with the widths and with the turns and with the turnouts required by the fire department. And the road was also, because our client specifically wanted to keep all the existing trees, that this property was so scarred by the debris flow. And what you're not seeing here, which will be a very important aspect of this proposal, is the landscaping that will heal this property. And so what we've done thus far is locate where the access road made sense and achieved what the fire department needs as we understand it. But all of the landscaping that is needed to make this property, to heal it, is yet to come.
Yeah, no, I completely understand all of that. So my comment would be to meet with the fire department sooner than later.
Thank you.
We do have applicants that come in, like you have, and it's all laid out, and they're clear that this is actually all good. And then they come back the next time and everything's been changed because of the fire department is integrally involved in everything that we're doing, So it's just a recommendation.
Okay.
And then also, this was just a personal question, was when you return, I'd like to see the details of this Tesla roof.
Okay.
And that's personal. I actually am interested in this whole concept of a Tesla roof. I mean, I have a house that's very similar to this, and right now it's got a metal roof, and I can't get any roofing company to put any panels on my roof. So I'm interested in this whole thing.
Yeah, no, I will definitely bring it. It's fascinating, the Tesla roof.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, thank you, Claire. Don Sharp, did you have any questions?
Yes, thank you. You mentioned that the owners do not want this house to loom up. And I'm just curious as to how you build the site up. And I also don't know how many feet higher this has to be and how you can blend this in, raising the house up and so forth without it appearing. I can understand the grade near the house, but where do you make the difference?
Mhm. The property is fairly level, but there are subtle changes on it. But the way that it exists now is not those are not the recovery grades, and so we've actually, Paul Cook, the surveyor, did heat maps of the site, and which told us where the building could be placed in order to be closest to the grade. And because if you shift this building around, if you push it left or right or in other directions, it actually would be higher out of the grade. And it has to do with the recovery grades, and it has to do with the FEMA and the county, the base flood elevation. So that's specifically, that's one of the reasons when we started looking at this, that's the one thing that we focused, that and the trees. And so the house, as you see it drawn here, the foundations, these would have the flood vents on the bottom of the building, and so the water can go in and it can go out. And so if you look on the elevations on the right-hand side of this page, if you look down in the stone foundation, those are flood vents in both cases, the louver that's there. Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you, Don. Dave Mindro, questions?
Yeah, so is the house conforming to the height requirements even now that you've had to raise it for the flood control?
It is, and that the house is it's just under 32 feet high, and so it is allowable, and this is measured from the recovery grades.
And the dashed lines are indicating that on these drawings.
That is correct.
Thanks. That's my question.
Okay. Dave, well, actually, while we're here on this elevation 3, there are those the Tesla panels that you have on the side of the elevation of the building?
Yeah.
Yes.
The power balls.
The battery packs. Yes.
So I think those might have to go out of that area just because flood control doesn't like any utility stuff sitting down below the BFE plus 24. Mm-hmm. So those may have to get relocated.
Okay.
And then could you go to the site plan real quick, Dave? Just curious. Have you done any arborist report on the oak tree? Have you gotten any discussion with arborists and since you're not piling up the grades under the oak roots there, then anyway, what have you done some research already?
Yes, we have a tree study of all the trees on the property, noting their caliper and their condition and their species, and they've been located precisely on the site plan as you see it, including the canopies as drawn.
Could you bring that study when you come back? Would you please bring that study with you?
Yes, of course. Mm-hmm.
So the green lines are the actual canopy then?
That is correct.
Okay. Got it. All right, great. Thank you. All right. I think we got everybody questions. Let's go to public comment. Is there anybody in the audience that would like to speak to this item 570 Meadowwood Lane? Any hands raised, Leah? Leah, anybody? Hello? Hello? I don't see any hands raised.
Getting them on mute. We have no request to speak.
Okay, great. Thank you. All right, let's close public comment and let's go to comments from the board members. Don Sharp, what are your comments?
Well, I think the architecture is appropriate in that location. It's certainly buried down in with good tree coverage, and it seems to me it's sort of like a breath of fresh air. And as I recall it, there is one or two other contemporary homes in that immediate area. I'm not positive, and it just seems like a good fit for me. And I do think we need a site visit to verify. I'm still a little concerned about the grades, but I'm sure it's been well worked out. But I think it's a good project.
Okay, thank you, Don. John Watson, what are your comments?
I will start with technicals like I have in the past. Please verify the taking of grade from recovery versus existing elevations. As I understand it, you're required to take it from existing, but I could easily be wrong about that. That's number one. Number two, I do believe we need story poles to be consistent with all of our approvals. Not knowing where the neighbors are, I think we should have both of the highest eave lines laid out for that. Number three, to the best of my knowledge, not in the coastal zone, but everywhere else, we're required to have 2 covered parking spaces plus and 1 open guest space, which it looks like you have. It does not need to be covered. Or if you wish not to have that, I believe that's going to be a trip to the Planning Commission, which at the end of the day will probably cost more money than to have the covered parking. And I strongly suspect that they will require the covered parking anyway. And I don't know that, of course, but that's what I would guess. And when I looked at this project earlier today, I do review the drawings before the meeting. I was struck by this design, and it reminded me of the work that Charles Moore did up in Sea Ranch in condominium number 1.
Mhm.
But in saying that, I don't see what I would call the grace that he developed from that because of the 2 simple massings that in essence are side by side without any relief, either vertically or horizontally, like a low roof that would be an entry element, or some kind of a interesting stair tower that might join the 2 of them together to give it a 3rd dimension. So I would encourage you to do that. The reason I asked the question was I was trying to figure out what the design criteria are and whether or not you were told to keep the price of this project down to the greatest extent possible or not. I heard small size, but I didn't hear cut as much money out as you possibly can as one of the criteria. And I would encourage you to study the joining of these 2 masses to see if there's another way to add an additional piece of architectural interest into the project. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
All right, thank you, John. Claire, comments?
Well, I really don't have any other comments. I do think that to the applicant, as I said, I talked to personally about the roof details, but meeting with the fire department, get into planning so that you can get these issues that Mr. Watson is bringing up about no garage. Sooner than later, that's going to become an issue for you as the designer. And you're going to have to deal with the planning department about not having a garage if it's accurate what Mr. Watson is saying. And other than that, I really like this, and it's so interesting that Mr. Watson brought up Seaview or whatever it is up in Northern California, because the house that I had to rebuild is very similar to this house. My house burned to the T fire, and I redesigned my house based on that, what had been done up in Northern California. And this house, it actually is very similar to that. So I'm very attracted to this design, and I just these small, simple, no stuff around them. I really like that. And so this project, for me, I really like this project, and I think, get yourself a planner and move along.
All right, thank you, Claire. Sam Maphis, what are your comments?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. I guess my comments really kind of piggyback on Claire's site plan. The fire department these days really does design the site plan in terms of how the fire truck gets in and gets out. So I think that may change your ground plane a little bit. They may need a hammerhead. They're not going to want to pull through your site. They're going to want to get there and get out if they have to quickly. So I think you need to study that. I'm very intrigued by the no parking area and just parallel along the roadway. I think you should have a more dedicated parking area for the house, and that may translate into the garage question that's been brought up, or the covered parking. So I think those two site-driven things are yet to be flushed out completely. And then I have a little different view. I'm looking at this more natural site, and I'm understanding all your flood considerations and certainly the way you need to be at a certain elevation. But I see the cluster shed building form as being simple and desirable, but I also see it as sitting up on a plinth of stone in a vertical mass that just really is very different than the rest of the environment. You're trying to be as natural in that setting, but I think that it just plunks itself straight up in the middle. Is there a way to take the landform and raise it in some cases, maybe by the back patio, up a little bit so that it doesn't increase the flood or cause drainage problems for the house, but then let the land come up and absorb part of the building instead of it all being up on a vertical plinth, if you will? So maybe you can study that with your landscape architect and some of the site planning issues we brought up with the fire department. I'm not at all adverse to this shape and this form. I think you've heard compliments. It has some dynamics to it, but I think it needs to be absorbed in instead of just, if you will, plunked down on that spot. It needs to kind of feel like it's more integrated to the land, if that makes sense. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Sam. Dave Mendro, what are your comments?
Oh, to begin with, I really appreciate the scale of the project and the thought that's gone into it to preserve the oak trees and to be sustainable. And I think that's a great place to start. And so I'm not opposed to the design, the simplicity, the way it's cited. I do agree with Sam's comments, and I believe Don's, that how it integrates to the site could be thought about some more. But I think that's the next step. I think it is important to have your arborist confirm the encroachment into the tree drip lines and any earthwork that you're going to do around the trees when you come back. And I also agree with John having story poles of the two higher portions of the roofs so we can see the scale of the house relative to the site. But again, I like the fact that even though you've had to raise the site, you're theoretically meeting the zoning heights if you've calculated that correctly. So I feel like you're going in the right direction. It's just taking things to the next level and really confirming the more technical issues of the garage and the site integration with the site.
Mr. Chair, I have one more comment. I have done a couple homes on the beach with the flood gates, we'll call them, under the home. And I'm just wondering about the boulders that were the size of Volkswagens, how you protect the home from that sort of intrusion.
You buy a property about a mile away from here.
I think another way to achieve that would be to not have flood run through the bottom underside and actually backfill against your pad and do
Maybe deflect it somehow with landforms.
well, a little bit of what Sam's talking about, that you place some soil in certain areas where you can get around, not affect the roots of the trees, and kind of blend it in to parts of it, but then place the house actually up on a slab, up on a platform of dirt and rock. Maybe it's rock stack landform, and then just do a slab on grade, and then you don't have to worry about the water running in through the underside of the house. And that might be another way to achieve it. Although it does mean you got to bring in more fill dirt to achieve that. So anyway, so my comments are a question to Kimberly. Does this site, is it going to need two covered car spaces, or can they do uncovered spaces as they're proposing?
Yes, the site is in the inland area, so it does require 2 covered parking spaces and 1 uncovered parking space. None of those spaces can be in the front or side yard setback.
So in a way that will change things, but I think maybe for the better in a way. And my comment is that although I like the style of the architecture and the materials and finish, I agree a little bit with John in that if it had a little more single story somewhere, and maybe this garage could achieve that by sliding in, fitting into some of this massing to kind of help ground it on some of the tall sides. So I think that obviously the garage component, unless it's detached and completely separated, might be a benefit to the way this works out. And obviously that structure could be down at flood level, and that could have the flow through walls and all of that. If you wanted to keep that at a lower level, you'd still have to step up to the house to get from the garage to the house, but that's some details you can work out. So story poles, I think we all agree with that, but I don't know, maybe this garage component is going to change your footprint and your placement and the rest of it.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, John?
Garages, it's not required to be a garage. It's required to be covered, so it can be a carport.
Sure.
And it's not required to be attached.
Right.
So it can be all of that, but there's no requirement. It's just 2 covered parking places.
Correct. Yeah. So do we give them the direction on the story pole? And if they decide—
No, I don't think it's ready for that. We don't have a project that's, I mean, I think they're going to need to come back for conceptual, working out the fact that now Kimberly, who's planning staff, is saying they need to have covered parking. I don't think, why do we want to have them go through the expense of putting story poles until they actually have complied? So I don't think, yes, we will have to, but now that the applicant understands that he's going to have some covered parking in the design, I don't think it's time for story poles.
Yeah, I'd say come back, have your talk with fire department, get your arborist worked out, get your parking situated, and then come back with
And get yourself a planner.
and get a planner. Exactly. Okay. Very
Well,
good.
I mean, the planner has to make these decisions, not us.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Well, thank you. That's it. We'll see you next time.
Thank you.
Bill?
Item 3, and that's you as well.
Bill?
Oh, yeah.
Hey, Bill, this is Dave. I'd like to suggest that the applicants and the board look at being a little more concise with the review, because given our time constraints in a number of projects, we're going to fall behind. And so I think if we could be a little more concise, it might help.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you, Dave.
Yeah. Let's be as efficient as well with the presentation, and we've all seen this, Dave, Scott Parker. We've reviewed these plans, most of us already, so you don't need to get in too much detail. We understand the drawings reasonably well, so go ahead and.
Hey, Dave, you're on item 2, not item 3.
I'm taking us even further back. Sorry. Let me get that.
Item 3.
I clicked on the
Okay.
wrong one there. They had the
This
same
is
name.
590 Meadowwood Lane. here for concept review as well. Go ahead, David.
Thank you. Well, this lot is just to the west of the lot that we just discussed. So if you continue on the access drive, it leads to this property. So maybe if we just,
Oh, you are doing both. Okay.
so if we just go to the site plan, great. North is to the left on this drawing, and which looks up toward Montecito Peak, and the main residence is proposed essentially in the middle of the property, with a terrace looking toward the mountain on the north side. As with the previous site where we were discussing the concept, this property has also been designed with sustainability in mind. And as such, these structures are all designed to have the Tesla roofs, and that is the rationale for the slope of all the roofs essentially facing toward the south, as much as possible. And the main residence is 2,839 square feet on 2 floors. This is a 2-acre parcel, and so the house is less than half the allowable square footage for a property this size. We're also proposing 2 other structures on the property. And while we're on the site plan, I'll just touch on those, and we can look at the elevations. The property that is in the lower left-hand corner is a pool and cabana. The pool is 45 feet long, it's 8 feet wide, and it's from 4 to 6 feet deep. It's essentially a lap pool. And the cabana is 694 square feet. It's less than 16 feet in height. The main residence, I skipped over that. The height of the main residence is essentially 30 feet. And then the cabana has been positioned so that from the terrace there, you look again out toward Montecito Peak. On the right, in the right-hand corner of the site plan, this is a guest house with an adjoining deck. The guest house is 694 square feet, and it has been positioned into the hillside to make it gracefully seat itself into the hillside. It's less than 16 feet high. And I might note that the neighboring properties, which would be to the south, the neighboring property there is its ground floor elevation is higher than the ground floor itself is higher than any of the roof of the main building or any of these other buildings, so that it essentially looks over these structures, because there's a very high embankment that you can see that runs along the right-hand side of the page. So if we could go to the next sheet, these are the views from the property, essentially from the main house. So to the, again, north is to the left. So the view, the photograph that is on the left-hand side of the page, that is looking, you see some trees in the foreground, but the silhouette in the distance is, yeah, you can see that's Montecito Peak beyond. And the ground, as with the previous site, is fairly level, but the property, the buildings have been laid out according to the heat maps and according to the recovery grades. This is the main floor of the residence, which has a great room, a kitchen, and then there is a den there as well, and a big terrace. And then there's a screen porch on the southern side. The second floor has 2 bedrooms and bathrooms there. And if we go to the, this is the, should we do the main residence first, and then we'll come back to the outbuildings?
Look at all the floor plans and then go to the buildings. That's
okay. Sure. This is the cabana. And in this case, north would be to the right. And this building and pool, which of course go hand in hand, has been cited for obvious reasons above the floodplain. So unlike the main house, which is in the floodplain and therefore its ground floor elevation has to be higher, we didn't want the pool in an area where it could be subject to flooding. And so that's why we opted to place this where we're showing it. And when we go to the renderings, you'll see that there's actually a stone retaining wall made out of boulders that survived the debris flow that forms what would be the eastern edge of the plateau where this where this cabana is positioned. This building is the little guest house that is built into the southern hillside, and the deck is on the right there. So if we go to the elevations, this is the main residence. The upper left-hand corner elevation, that's the elevation facing Montecito Peak. And it has an outdoor fireplace on the terrace there, and then the large windows that look toward the view. The house is essentially organized with the great room, that's the double height glass, and then the wing to the right is where the bedrooms are and the kitchen. If you look in the upper right hand corner, that elevation is the western elevation of the building. And as with the building that we discussed on the adjoining property, this building is proposed to be chemically treated cedar, chemically treated to make it fire resistant, and with stone piers and foundations, and powder coated aluminum brise soleil and windows. In the lower, yeah, that's fine. And then this is the cabana. The side that faces into the property is in the upper right-hand corner. That faces east, and so the cabana sitting area is in the room to the left, where you see there's a chimney rising up, and then the gym is in the right-hand at the right-hand end of that building. And the other elevations, I think, are somewhat self-explanatory. We could go to the this is the guest house that's built into the hillside. Excuse me. And the north face of this building is in the lower left-hand corner, and for all intents and purposes, this is what you see of the building. And again, it looks toward Montecito Peak. And the upper left-hand view is this is looking from the southeast at the main residence. The tree that you see there is an existing sycamore tree, and and you can see Montecito Peak in the distance. That's a screen porch in the lower left-hand corner, and then there's a terrace adjoining it there. And then this view is a rendering of the pool cabana. And here you see the boulder retaining wall that survived the debris flow. And the trees that you see are the existing trees in this location. And this is a view looking toward the looking southwest at the guest house. And it's elevated, built into the hillside with the ground level at the height that it needs to be above base flood elevation for this part of the site.
Great. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, David. Let's go to questions of the board. Claire, did you have any questions?
Did you say Claire?
Yes, I did. Yes.
No, I don't have any questions.
John Sharp, any questions?
I have no questions.
And John Watson?
No questions, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Sam, any questions?
I just wonder if you've started with some of these locations, the same kind of arborist or tree report for when the buildings are situated close to the oak trees. Okay, good. So you'll have that documentation. Thank you. That's all I have.
Okay. Dave Mindro, questions?
Was there a garage proposed in this proposal too?
Didn't look like it.
Okay. That's my question. Thanks.
Okay, question I have, is that a fire-approved hammerhead there on your plan, the site plan? Is that?
Yes, it is. It is. Mhm.
So maybe that'll accomplish the turnaround that you might need. And I think it's the guest house, is that completely raised off the grade and water flows underneath it, or is one side tied to the hill?
One side is tied to the hill. Mhm.
Okay, and the rest of it's open though, you could crawl under there if you wanted to.
You can. Mhm.
All right, those are all my questions.
Mr.
I
Chairman.
guess one more question on my side. Sorry, Bill. And I guess the pool itself and that decking off the cabana, is that in ground or is it raised on a beam? I'm not sure about how the grading works around those trees.
On the it's a deck on the right hand side. I'm sorry, on the left hand side of I'm sorry, I'm looking here. The decking is around the right hand side of this site plan as you're looking at it here, and then it's built. It's laid in stone dust, flagstone, I think, on the left hand side.
But is the pool at the level of the oak trees? Is that what I'm seeing, or is it the pool above the oak trees? It's hard for me to see.
Yeah, the pool it goes from shallow to deep, following the grades, and it is essentially at existing grade.
Okay.
Mhm.
That's all the questions. Sorry for the interruption and backtrack.
Mr. Chairman,
Yeah, go ahead, John.
David, in the folder, there is a photo mapper image. Did you take, yeah, there it is. And I wanted everybody to look at this to observe the distance between this property and all of the adjoining development to the west and south, just so we had that clear in our mind as we move forward. That's all I had, Mr. Chairman.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, John.
Thank you, John. So we'll close questions. We'll go to public comment. Is there anyone in the audience that'd like to speak to this item 3, which is 590 Meadowwood Lane? Anyone in the audience speak to that?
Mr. Chair, I do not have any requests to speak.
All right, no requests, no letters. All right, let's close public comment. We'll go to comments of the board. John Watson, what are your thoughts on this project?
Well, I felt the other one was not quite there architecturally. I think this one is far more developed or successful. I'm not sure which sets of words to put there. I think what I said before is basically, that I like this, but in the other one, I thought needed more articulation. I think this one's got it. I think we do need story poles to be consistent. I think it should be along only the main residence at the high point of the eave. The reason I asked to look at the photo mapper is it's a long way to anybody else's property. So the pool cabana and the guest house, I think, are going to be completely insignificant to the neighbors. And I don't think that we need to have them spend any money on getting story poles for that. Others may disagree with that, but that's at least my feeling. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
All right, thank you, John. Claire, what are your comments?
My comments are going to be really similar to the other one, is meet with the fire department, because inside of now you're at a dead end road. And I don't even know if you know where the nearest public fire hydrant is. And if that's why you need, because given where this is, I think the public fire hydrant is a long way, and you're going to be having to deal with providing water to the fire department, and you're at the dead end road. And your site planning, this is going to be for me, and I think for the fire department, things are going to have to change given what you're proposing, because I don't think this is going to comply with fire department requirements. So, and once again, it's the same issue with covered parking. You don't have any covered parking designated here. Before you come back, you need to deal with that in the planning department because there's a requirement that you have to have covered parking. And interestingly enough, I'm more attracted to the original building than I am to this architecturally. For me, the roof lines here are a little disturbing to me, to my eye. So I just kind of want to I'm just saying that, and then you don't have to do anything about it. We can discuss it when you come back, but those are my comments.
All right, thank you, Claire. Sam, Maphis, what are your comments on this?
Well, thank you. And thank you for these really nice renderings. They depict the mix of materials. And I think I'm leaning a little more like John, that this architecturally, this present of these buildings and this compound is much more interesting, has got a lot more materiality. There's variety in the architecture, and I like the siting for the most part. I am concerned as why up the arborist report. I look at the pool building as an example, being very close to some big oak trees, at least on plan. It looks like the calibers are large. The proximity is underneath and close to their trunks. I think you're forcing that building into a shoebox, if you will, of the natural conditions there. So I'd be interested to see how the footings for your pool really are going to work, and how can you be that close without, serious arborist mitigation. So I'm thinking that siding is quite close to the property lines and quite close to the trees. So that may need some remediation of some kind. Not that the architectural style, I just think the siding in that corner is stuffed in tightly. You may need to look at that. And as Claire stated, I won't state it again, I agree with her. The fire department's gonna, again, change the site plan to their will of safety. And the garage and covered parking is also going to be an extension of how the site plan is going to have to function to provide that. So your site planning needs more study, but overall, I think your architectural in this situation is much more interesting and successful. But I continue to be concerned about the site plan. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Sam. Don Sharp, what are your comments?
Well, I must agree with Sam that I think there's going to be some changes given the fire department, covered parking, access and so forth to that parking. But I disagree with Claire. I think this architecturally is more successful than the other house. I also appreciate the fact they're relatively small and just as I imagine it, sort of hidden down in this little area, and very nice, I think. I'm also concerned about the large boulders and how that can be mitigated. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Don. Dave Mendro, what are your comments?
I think my comments are very similar to the previous project. I think the scale and the size of these structures is very nice relative to the site. I think the site planning is very sensitive. It's really the technical issues, the fire. I think definitely having an arborist support everything you're proposing here and having that documented, and dealing with the zoning issues in the garage is the next step. But I like the feel of it. I don't mind going either way. I think the first project was simple and these ones are a little more detailed, but I like both directions. I would just focus on keeping them complementary with each other. So in general, I like the project. It's just more the technical issues at this point.
All right, thank you, Dave. I agree with the board members' comments. Definitely an arborist, come back with that information on the oaks. Fire department, get in front of them and see if you're going to be able to comply with everything. Let's get the garage or covered parking and additional parking space figured out on your plan. And at some point, story poles will be needed for the second to the two-story element. I like this plan. I particularly like the guest house and the single story elements. I would try to encourage you to have a little more single story element as much as you can, even on the main residence, just to kind of help nestle that down into the ground a little better and not have just tall structures there. So anyway, looks good. Come back at your planner and we will continue with conceptual review next time you come again.
Thank you.
Let's move on to item number 4. No address, 0 Mariposa Lane.
Well, Bill, I'm stepping down on this one, Bill. Thanks.
Okay, Dave is going to step down. And do we have applicant? Jennifer, I see your face somewhere in there. So go ahead and give us your presentation.
Hi, everyone. Jennifer Siemens, agent for the owner. Just want to orient you here. This is a vacant lot. If you go up Mariposa from Lilac, it's the second lot on the left. It's right above 935 Mariposa, which is owned by the same owner. This is a 1 acre lot. It's got some oak trees you'll see along the borders there. And then on the western border, we have a creek setback. The creek's actually on the other property, so only a portion of the setback comes onto our property. And then it's basically just like gardens, landscaping in the middle, and it's sloping to the south. And I don't think I've ever seen a neighboring house when I've been at the property. It's pretty much protected by tall trees and hedges and whatnot. We do comply with FAR and DAB. The FAR is 4,300, and I think our house is at 1,698. There's a detached gym and garage, and that's at 433 and 367 respectively, which adds up to the 810 limit there. We do comply with setbacks. We don't have an arborist report yet. We have some buffers around the trees there. Those are approximate. Those have to be fleshed out more. We're here really with a very concept design. We're wanting to be in the same style as the house below us, and I'll let the architect explain that in more detail. We're well below the height limit of 35 feet for the main house, and we're below 16 feet for the accessory structures. But we do have to raise the structures. This is part of the FEMA recovery map. So we're not in the floodplain or the floodway, but we do have the FEMA BFE stuff to deal with. And I think that's it for now. I'll let, the architects are logged in under my name because they didn't get a link. So they're gonna go up under my name.
So Leah, can you let them on?
Oh, hi, my name is Adam. I'm here,
Okay, great.
and I've been working with Jennifer on the design for this residence. And just to give you a sense of how it's laid out, we are bounded by the oak trees on the right-hand side against Mariposa Lane. And also there's some oak trees on the south side at the bottom of the page. And then the top of the page and to the right is that creek bed. And so that kind of gives us our triangle in between to work with. And the site slopes significantly from the upper right down to the lower left is about a 40-foot vertical slope. And so we have cited it's a single, they're all single story structures, and we've cited the finished floors to meet the FEMA guidelines and kind of stepped them down the slope so that each little building is kind of stepping down as it goes down the hill. And just to quickly move through the floor plan, if you go to the next sheet, you can see the overall floor plan of the two buildings. Starting with the upper right is the 2-car garage. And then from there, you would step down through terraces and planting beds and beautiful landscaping down to the courtyard where you enter into the main house. And between the house and the garage is the gym, and it's just a gym building with a bathroom, and then the main house itself is kind of symmetrically laid out with 2 bedrooms on either side, and then the central living room with the kitchen, and then terraces that lead out to the pool. The style of the house, if you go to the elevations, is in keeping with the existing house on the lower property. Is a beautiful Spanish colonial revival house with white stucco walls and red terracotta roofs. And we're keeping within that sort of style. And I'm just going to keep going. Yeah, you can kind of see from the elevations the style of the house. And that last section drawing kind of gives you a sense of the buildings sloping down the hill, or stepping down the hill, rather. Happy to answer any questions.
Yeah, thank you. Let's go to questions. Sam Maphis, do you have any questions?
I guess the only question that I'm struggling with interpreting is that one elevation, I guess is the north elevation with the glass. Is the glass the gym, and it's just no walls, just an open glass structure? It's hard for me to interpret with the 2 buildings kind of on that same elevation.
Yeah, that number 2 north elevation is showing the gym as like it's almost like a glass sunroom, where it's steel and glass structure with a flat roof.
And it's connected to the garage and independent of the lower.
That's right.
Symmetrical building. Okay.
Yep, that's right. It's a separate entity. Yep.
I think everything else is clear to me, Chairman. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Sam. Claire, any questions?
Are there any site photos in the packet? I noticed that there was one of the gate. Are there any other site photos available?
There should have been. I submitted
Yeah,
them.
I see the gate, but I just was wondering, okay,
I have the photos up on the screen, Claire.
Oh.
I'll scroll through them.
Yeah.
Oh, good. Oh, okay. Oh, perfect. Oh, whoa. Awesome. Oh, beautiful site. Oh, yay. Cool.
It's like a fairly
My
developed.
question is all of these site photos are of this site, not the other ownership site? That's right. Okay.
Did you have any other questions, Claire, while we're looking through those?
No, I don't have any other questions at this point.
Okay, keep scrolling, Dave, and we'll have other questions.
Well, that's all 6. I'll go backwards then.
Okay. Let's see, Don Sharp, did you have any questions?
No questions, thank you.
Questions. John Watson, any questions?
Have you had a chance to do a 3D model, even if it's not a full rendering?
We're actually working on that now because it's a challenging site. So we are working on that and plan to include that in the next submission.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. That's all I have.
Thank you. Let's see, do I have any questions about this? Elevations there, Dave, real quick. The chimney height, does it need to be as tall as you show there? The east elevation looks, maybe it's just a proportion of its thinness to its width.
If you go to the previous sheet, at the top there, you'll see there's an exterior fireplace on that roof.
I see.
Yeah.
So does that share? That's a shared chimney, then you've got 2.
Yes,
coming out.
that's right. That's right.
Got it. Okay. Did you investigate or think about any other options on the circular stair going up to the rear or the roof deck?
This was a client-inspired idea, and they liked that concept, but we'd be open to anything there.
Okay. All right. Great. That was all I had. Okay. Did I get everybody? I think I did. All right.
A couple more questions came up, Chairman.
Yeah, Sam, go ahead.
I'm curious about your pool. It looks to me like you have two bodies of water in that terrace, and one is the pool with a negative edge or infinity edge, and the other is separate from that, right? There's no bridge or something that you swim under.
That's correct.
And then have you thought about where and how your pool equipment sites with that amount of water? You're going to need something. Is that tuck itself below or to the side? I guess I'm just looking for something in those terraces that might indicate that.
That's right. We haven't studied that yet, but it is on the list to study. It's we have to figure out where to tuck it into. That's
okay. I just didn't see it. That's the question. Thank you, Bill.
All right. Thank you, Sam. So we'll close questions and go to public comment. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak to this item number 4, 0 Mariposa Lane, no address? Leah, anybody? Leah, are you there?
Speak.
I'm sorry. No, nobody?
Nope, nobody.
Okay, great. Thank you. We'll close public comment. We'll go to question or comments of the board. John Watson, what are your thoughts on this project?
We have two architectures here. We have this glass thing, and then we have this reminiscent Spanish architecture. And it reminds me of the Libero. And, you know, George Washington Smith, although most people would say that Luda did it, you know, when he or she had a project like this, he went bold or she went bold. And I think that there is a molding missing, or that there's some kind of a very strong statement, oversized lights, something on this project that would then take this from being a nice project to being a really nice project. And I'd like you guys to at least explore that. And then this glass gym, I'm not sure exactly where that's going, and I'd love to see a 3D model to see how this whole thing integrates together. Now, it might be that these two structures have almost nothing to do with each other because of very dense landscaping that you put in there, or it might be that one is right on top of the other. So, and therefore, the integration of no muttons or on the windows on one and lots of muttons on the other. I mean, I think somehow that hasn't fully been resolved yet. And I think a 3D model may help you get there. So I do not think we need a site visit for a single story building. We haven't done one, I don't think, ever since I've been on the board. And obviously it's a nice project in terms of mass, bulk, and scale, but as we all know, Mies van der Rohe was right. God is in the details. And I think I'm not, on the last project, I was somewhat concerned about the massing. I'm not with this, but I am extremely concerned to get this up to excellence about how this building is put together. So that's all I have, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, John. Claire, what are your comments?
I have no comments.
Okay. All right. Sam, what are your comments on this?
Well, I kind of would tag on to John. I think that the classical styling of this main building by the pool and the outdoor spaces are quite charming and pretty magical in that setting of oaks. And just with the photographs, I can imagine this as being very strong and striking. And then I look at the garage tying to that and the terracing all relating. But then the glass structure to me is something that either needs to be integrated or somehow pulled together to kind of fit the overall motif. So I'm a little bit, questioning that. I like the project overall. I think it needs to tie together. The two buildings are detached, but yet you've got the courtyards and the terraces that blend it all. So all in all, it's very handsome. It just has some elements that maybe needed more integration because it seems foreign in the composition. But I think it's started in a very nice direction. What a beautiful site. I guess the last question, I'll leave it, is some of the walls that you have that step from your motor court drive and the walls below the pool. I'm questioning the scale. Are they 4 to 5 foot or are they taller than that? I'm trying to gauge the height of some of your retaining and terracing walls.
Yes, we are trying to keep them 4 to 5 feet and step down the hill. We're trying to avoid anything tall.
With needs railings or protection. Okay.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay, that's all. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Sam. Don Sharp, your comments.
Thank you. It's really difficult to provide a good assessment with what we see in the drawings here. And as John says, God is in the details. I think echoing other comments, it could be very successful or maybe marginally successful. My one glaring issue is the chimney. I understand there's that fireplace on the roof, but it doesn't have to be quite so rectilinear and just boom, boom. And especially, on that side elevation of it, it needs to be manipulated to have a little more character and maybe lowered down also. Other than that, I think it's has a lot of potential.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Don. Yeah, I agree with Don. I think, maybe a little bit of thickness on the chimney up there on the box itself, and then the chimney could be maybe tapered and smaller or thinner or something. Some needs treatment there. I'm having a little bit of a trouble, although I like circular stairs. That is a real large mass on a smaller feeling structure, and so to overwhelm that, to me visually, I could live with it if it was really a make or break thing for the owners, but it seems like there might be a way to integrate a better stair. Maybe it's more of a rectilinear shape or something. I don't know. I know you have to kind of fight the code to get circular stairs to work properly, and you end up with this kind of a large structure, so it ends up being what it is. But to me, it's sort of like the tail wagging the dog a little bit. That's just my comment on that. I think that the glass at the gym could be integrated a little better, and maybe it's just adding the divided lights that you have in the rest of the windows that might help tie that in together. Generally speaking, I like the structure and the direction you're going. So I don't have any problem. And I agree. I don't think we need story poles for this because we're really single story. So that being said, I would say get your planner and add some details and kind of get that worked up. And I guess do we let them come back for preliminary, or do we need to wait again?
No, we don't do that right now. Right now, we're at conceptual.
Okay.
We don't decide that.
All right.
The
planner does.
Yeah, well, somebody does, but it has to. This is a single review for conceptual, and they need to move forward and apply for and get a planner, and then we can comment on it. That's the way the system is set up. So.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, John.
Design team, please make sure that you have the grade at these terraces at or below a drop of 30 inches, or please provide some kind of railing. however that might be. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right, thank you.
And
All
then my tag on comment, sitting here looking at the drawings and stuff, is that I do agree that this is like could be really a beautiful building, especially the elevation that's up, the south elevation that we're looking at, which is very formal and really beautiful, but somehow this staircase doesn't fit my eye. So I'm just going to ask that because Bill brought it up too, is that would you kind of I get the whole purpose of it, but I think it needs to be integrated into the architecture rather than looking like this ramp of stairs that goes up to get somewhere. So that's my comment.
Agreed.
It upsets me every time I see the elevation. I go, why is that there? So,
All right, thank you, Claire. All right, sounds good. You know what you need to do. We'll see you when you can get back here with the planner.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Item number 5, 808 San Ysidro Lane. Do we have the applicant online?
Can you see me? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Let's.
Hi, everybody.
give us your name and
So Amy is going to be signing on also, and Amy and I are both working on this project.
And I'm here too. Can you guys hear me?
Amy
Yes.
Blakemore and Elizabeth Sortman.
Right.
Presenting. Okay, great. Thank you. Go ahead.
All right, so Amy's had the opportunity to meet multiple times with the owners and tweak the design. So I'm going to let her take over and I'll answer questions in terms of some of the coordination that we've had with some of the fire department and roads department and some of the other agencies.
Go ahead, Amy.
So the overall scope of the project is just a landscape, hardscape remodel predominantly. We do have an existing entry drive that I don't know if you're familiar with the property at all, but off San Ysidro Road, there's an existing entry drive that kind of dumps you directly into the garage of the building. Directly to the south of that, there's a really enormous oak tree that we obviously want to preserve. It's a beautiful tree. The owners were interested in creating a new entry for the site that would be a little bit more associated with the actual house instead of just being directly off of the garage. We know there's a reluctance to add curb cuts to properties that already have an entrance, which is why we talked the clients out of doing a circular drive off to the Las Tunas side of the property. So we are proposing, though, an additional entry at the south side of the property with new gates and new site walls. The driveway would come in and we're providing some additional access for fire and trying to soften up the driveway and maybe provide a little bit of a tie into landscape with some gravel extensions off the sides of the driveway. We are also at the north of that large oak tree, proposing to extend the site walls, basically pushing them out towards San Ysidro. That's perfect, Bill. If you could go a little bit farther down on the screen, you can see the drip line of that pretty substantial oak tree. You can see there's a existing entry gate under a kind of a roofed arch structure that's there, which we're proposing to remove, and then actually just push that site retaining wall out towards San Ysidro Lane to sort of give some more entry garden to the space and give an opportunity to provide some buffer and some screening between San Ysidro Lane and the entry of the house. Let's see. We are proposing a little bit of an expansion to the existing pool deck to the east. And also just sort of a remodel of that upper northeast corner to accommodate a pergola and a little fire pit area for the clients. That's pretty much the extent of it, just the new entry and entry gates, a revision to the existing service entry, and a new pedestrian entrance to the house and pushing those retaining walls out to the street.
All right. Thank you, Amy. Was that conclude your presentation?
I think so. I did have a plant palette on there. The client's really interested in having a very green sort of English country garden style. So we're trying to achieve that look in a Southern California way with using more drought tolerant plants. It's all things familiar to the board, I'm sure, but just getting some material in there that kind of can replicate that English country garden without being super water heavy. And that's it.
All right. Thank you. Let's go to questions of the board. Sam, do you have any questions on this project?
I guess the questions would stem around the new gate, Amy, and how that grading wise and wall footing wise and things would affect any of the trees. I just am not clear how all that comes together with your site plan. I guess it's the bottom entrance is your new proposed one.
Correct. So there's an existing low, it's just about a 2-foot high retaining wall just on the east side of where you see where that power pole is adjacent to the street, just to the north of the proposed site wall.
Yeah.
There's an existing low site wall there, which we would propose to tie into and then increase the height of that wall. The grade is really generally fairly flat in that area. It does build up a little bit to the east of that space. But we would just be retaining a little bit behind the eastern wall of the new entry gate configuration.
It's hard for me to understand. So you're showing some trees in the driveway. Are those to be removed? Or?
Those are to be removed.
Okay.
I
And
apologize for that.
The black section of wall or dark on my screen is the new proposed entry.
Yeah. Correct.
Okay.
And the only thing that exists along that stretch is actually just chain link fencing.
And then refresh my memory, you said there's a new pedestrian entrance. I noticed you moved the other entrance up further away from the big oak tree. So we can maybe switch the screen, Dave, thank you. And so that looks nice. You know, you're giving it more space, better yard, better entry. And then where is the pedestrian entrance coming off of that motor court? Or is it coming off the street? I guess I'm just not sure. Is that?
If you scroll down just a little bit from my screen, there's where that hatch of brick paving is. We're proposing, yes, exactly. So we're proposing to configure that would be the new sort of wayfinding treatment to get you to the front door. It's just just kind of an awkward site to really get you to the front door without impacting that oak tree. We've been trying to be really sensitive, and obviously we can't impact it more than 20%. So we're trying to minimize where we are at underneath the canopy, but still make it very clear where you need to go to get to the front door.
It looks like a lot of trees are getting affected, even that 48-inch tree where you're showing some parking right next to it and some trees that, so maybe some clarity as to what those trees are and maybe an arborist involved in what methods you're using to try to accomplish this. It looks like you're adding a lot of pain and the trees are going to get sacrificed. But
we did have an arborist come out.
Yes. Yeah, we've talked to Bill Spiewak specific because that 30-inch oak or 39-inch oak rather at the top it's just a gorgeous tree. So that was the first thing we did was got Bill Spiewak out there to talk to him about, his thoughts about how we can do this safely underneath that tree. The tree you're talking about, the 48-inch, is a type of, I think it's a ficus. It's a really large, it's a really substantial tree that I don't think we're going to impact at all. I think it would be I think you'd have to do major construction down there for it to even notice. But you're correct that there are a few trees in the way. That 30-inch tree at the bottom is a pittosporum. And there's significant pittosporum hedge all along in that section. But I'll update the plan and make sure those are all called out appropriately.
Thank you. That's all I have.
Thank you, Sam. Claire, comments or questions?
Oh, good. I thought we were in questions. So is the paving that comes in from the new gate, is that all new paving?
Correct. It will be a chip seal.
I mean, there's paving, there's,
Okay, that answers my.
it's paved there now. It's paved there now, so it's a new surface, but it's already paved there now.
Are there any photographs in the?
Well, yeah,
packet, Dave?
I don't quite understand. I mean, so I just asked the question, is this new? And you're saying that it's not new. So yeah.
There's an existing gravel space that's already installed at the site that we will be using as the base for the new driveway configuration. So that area has already been manipulated and is already a big open gravel area. I apologize for the noise in the background. I wasn't able to get back to the office.
No, that's fine. It's so
So you see where that arrow is the existing gravel space there. So we're gonna come through and pave that.
And that, and these are quick word questions, and that is for, and obviously that's the new gate. But the owner actually can enter this property into their existing garage up here on the other side. Is that correct? So this new gate is only for parking for, just whatever, because the owner wants to have all this gravel there. Is that correct?
I think it would be helpful. Bill, is there a way to go to the photo of from the street view of that existing driveway?
I think Dave's in control. Dave, are those?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Here.
Those top sheets, are those photos?
Tell me which one you want to look at, Amy.
There you go.
I think the upper left.
But that's the existing, isn't it, Jamie? Isn't that?
Correct.
That's the existing.
Yeah, can you zoom in on that a little bit?
So that you're moving to the left and pulling the wall out towards the street.
Yes.
On
So
the
right
interior.
now, right now the
wide.
parking is directly off of San Ysidro Road.
Right.
Right out front of that. I don't know what to call that sort of arched pedestrian gate there with stairs. But the existing entry basically just shoots directly into the garage. And at your right-hand side, there's a retaining wall with some steps that go up to the entrance. There's not really the entry per se. It was designed to be this little stair and roofed area, which then you walk through that directly towards the house, the entry door of the house. But it's instead of having all that parking right in their front space there, we'd like to pull that wall out so that they have some opportunity to get a little bit more buffer from the street. So we need to come up with a different strategy for getting to the front door.
Yeah, because the house, when you go there, it really has no privacy.
Right on the street, yeah.
It's just right on the street. So when we went out there, we met with the arborist and kind of walked around because there were different discussions of the driveway coming in front of the property, but obviously that large oak tree, we can only do so much. So this is how we came up with this concept.
Bill, are we in questions right now?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, fine. Okay, let's stay in questions and not
Does one show, any of those photographs show the other entry kind of look along Las Tunas?
I think,
yes.
Dave, if you go down to from the top 6 pictures, the lower right-hand one. Yeah. So there's that power pole. And then
so that's where the new gate is going to be, then the new entrance right there.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, that's helpful. Thank you.
I'm done with questions, Bill.
All right, you're done. Okay.
Somebody else.
Let's go. Don Sharp, did you have any questions?
I believe I saw a couple elevations of gates. Yes. Is that proposed or just some ideas or existing, or what are those?
Those are proposed.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Okay, all right. John Watson, did you have any questions?
Yes, I do. Do you have an existing site plan that shows the existing configuration without any proposals on it?
I do not have that. I can provide that at the next round.
Okey doke, that's all I have, Mr. Chairman. Oh, I have a question of Kimberly. Can we go to the site plan, please? And near the new gate, there's some parking next to the street. Kimberly, it looks to me like we have parking. You're gonna have to scroll up on
Oh,
that.
you mean the other gate?
No, just scroll up on
Oh.
that page, please. There's parking right there, Kimberly, that I am sure is closer than 50 feet, 20 feet, Is that legal or not?
We do have provisions in the ordinance. I don't know them off the top of my head, but for additional parking above and beyond the 2 covered, 1 uncovered required for the zone, we have provisions for additional parking, and some of that parking can be located within the front yard setback. The planner will need to look at the ordinance language carefully.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. That's all I have.
Okay, thank you. Dave Bender, did you have any questions?
Yes. What's the height and the materials of the site wall?
Did you get your letter from your dad?
We're proposing 5 feet at the service entrance and 6 feet at the proposed new entrance, and we would be proposing plaster to match the house.
Okay, and the columns are just, these are just
It's
plaster?
hard to see because it's.
Just plastered columns.
So your dad.
Thank you.
really small envelope.
Okay, all right. Thank you, Dave.
I think we lost Claire.
Yeah.
She'll be back.
That's all right.
Okay.
I have no questions, so let's go on to public comment. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak to this item number 5? 808 Sandy Cedar Lane.
Mr. Chair, I do not have any requests to speak.
Nobody requested. Okay, we'll close public comment. We'll go to board members' comments. Sam, what are your thoughts on this project?
Well, I think, I understand where you're going and trying to kind of reduce all that width of paving along San Ysidro, make a safer guest parking area off the roadways, which is no parking up there, so it's very tight. I would like to see a plan that reflects all the things that are going to be removed clearly. And so you can kind of see the area of influence for your new proposed hardscape and walls. And then where you're planning on supplementing the new. So I understand your direction in terms of the garden, but it'd be nice to see where you're adding things to make the property, more private, where you're opening it up, what is actually coming out. That was why I was asking questions. It was unclear to me. I generally think it's okay what you're doing. I guess the paving in the front, its configuration is a little bit awkward. I don't know how the flow of that really works. It looks like you might be getting trapped up in there. So maybe work out some of those things for us next time. Certainly like the garden ideas, and gaining more space and privacy makes sense for what you're doing. So the direction seems okay. It just needs a little more of a reality check for us to be able to discern what's staying and what's going.
Sure.
Okay.
Understood.
Okay, all right. Thank you, Sam. Claire, are you back?
Yes,
Okay, what are your comments?
I think there's too much paving. I think that in other instances like this, we have denied projects with 2 gates. And so that's questionable to me. And those are my big issues here, is that the whole front of this project now has got paving, and so I think for me, I'd like to see some other proposals rather than having this gate where it is, you could move the gate further up, and without having you, so that corner continues to be landscaped. And so I have a lot of problems with this project. That's
Right.
all.
Claire, can I respond really quickly?
I think that,
Let's
Okay.
get comments first and then,
yeah, well, we're in,
Yeah.
that's
Okay.
what we're doing.
Yeah, so,
Comment,
let's see, Dunn Sharp, what are your comments?
Well, I'm mostly concerned about the gates and particularly how they integrate with the adjacent wall or chain link fence or whatever it may be. But, and I know the drawing doesn't specifically show that, but it's very important that they look and blend in with what is there and look like they're meant to be, rather than just something plopped and the wall comes and turns and stops. And and the design of the gates is very important to me.
Okay.
That's it.
All right, thank you, Don. John Watson, what are your comments?
Well, I don't know if I have quite the intensity of concern that Claire does, but on the other hand, I might even have more. So
thanks, John.
the community plan flows into the ordinances, and the community plan says maintain and preserve the low intensity semi-rural residential character of the neighborhood. And what I'm seeing here is in the upper part by the existing driveway and the existing garage, you have done something probably to have more planting on the outside. But if it was unclear in the presentation, but it looks to me like we have more paving up there than we have today. And if that's truly an owner-only location, that's kind of, they keep that for themselves. I'm not so sure you need 100% of that paving that's being shown. Down below, we have a new area which from a, it's going to be paving of some kind, not dirt or gravel that we have shown now. And you're substantially increasing that. So I have a hard time with low intensity semi-rural with that comment. So what I would like to ask you to do is to come back, number one, I think with a plan that really strips off everything and shows us existing paving and then proposed paving or hardscape. And that might include the house and it might include the pool and the deck, but what's the percentage that this lot has of hardscape now versus in the future? And please do not include the new driveway down in the southwest portion of the site as existing. I think that would be disingenuous for what I'm asking. And then at that point, once I see that, I'll be able to make a better assessment about whether or not this is a little over exuberant in terms of paving over paradise. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, that's all.
All right, thank you, John. Dave Mendro, what are your comments?
Well, to start with, I do recognize the board usually discourages more than one curb cut, but I think in this case, I could potentially support this proposal in that it's getting rid of the kind of a not so nice parking area at the street, and it's bringing that into the site and creating gates and privacy so that, for the community, I think this could actually look better. My concerns would be the amount of paving and the impacts to the existing trees. So it's hard to read this plan. I think we need a better existing plan and then better graphics on the new plan so we can really understand what's happening. So I can support the two curb cuts most likely, but I am concerned about those other issues. And architecturally, I think we need more detail on the walls and the gates. I think right now I'd have a hard time supporting them. I'm assuming they just aren't detailed out, but I'd need to be convinced that they relate to the architecture and curved shapes and that just very, very simple stucco finish with plain columns is going to work. So I would ask the next round that you study that detailing too. Thanks.
All right, thank you, Dave. Yeah, I tend to lean toward Dave's thoughts there too. It is a challenging site, certainly, to be able to get from the street or guest parking area to the front door. So, you know, could I support a second entrance? Possibly, but I think the quantity of paving that's over there maybe is a little more than would be necessary. It looks like you've got, you know, 4 additional spaces, but you could probably have another, you know, 6 or 8 cars kind of fill in that area there. And again, the graphics, I'm assuming, kind of show that, you know, there's a lot of paving going on over there on that side. That's on the south side of the lower new driveway entry. You know, maybe there's a way to reduce the parking in that area and just have people walk a little further to get to the entry door. That'd pull some of that paving off that oak and some of the other trees. I do agree. I like the idea that you're getting a little more landscaping there where the old pullout was for the guest space entrance. So I encourage that, but you know, if you can reduce some of that parking, might be a little more palatable. And the site walls and the gates certainly do need to kind of jive and blend in like they've been there forever, kind of a feel. So anyway, that is what I have to say. That being said, you've got no planner, and we'll have, you know, work on those things. Come back when you get a planner set up.
All right, then, thank you.
All right.
Thank you, guys.
Okay. Let's go on to item 6, 1711 Midwick Place. Do we have the applicant online?
Where the hell is Midwick Place?
Yes, hi. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Introduce yourself.
Okay. Great. I'm Meredith Thompson. I'm with Candelaria Design. I'm with the architecture firm that's representing the client here, who was on, but unfortunately she had to leave. She had some dinner commitments, but this is a conversion of a covered trellis patio into a livable sitting room. We worked on this house with the clients and completed it about 6 years ago. It is located in the Ennisbrook community. And as you can see, it is located off of Meadowbrook Drive, but the driveway comes off Midwick Place. The area of conversion that we're looking at is in the northwest corner. So as you can see, that part of the property is very private, although there is a neighboring residence there that we already met with for the Ennisbrook review and had some really good discussions with him. He's in favor of this project. They have been working together to continually, you know, infill and buffer with some nature between their two properties. So all those existing oaks are remaining. So there is already, you know, it's a pretty lush barrier there. So what's existing right now is that corner that you can see, the left-hand corner column, and has trellis members over it. And what we're proposing to do is infill it with some steel doors leading out to the existing covered patio, or the uncovered patio. And then so that's going to the north, and then to the west would be some windows there. So it is to act as a sitting room, an enclosed sitting room off their master bedroom that the client has always wanted. So if you go to the next, this is just an enlarged floor plan. So, and I have some really good aerials. I apologize that I did not include it, but you can see that off the master bedroom, that existing opening is where the old doors used to be. And so now there's new steel doors to the north that match the great room, and new windows to the west that match the master bedroom, just in a different configuration. If you skip down, so up above, there's no work to the south elevation. The north elevation, oops, you'll see the before, the existing in number 2, and then the proposed. So in terms of the trellis members, we just plan to extend that existing roof line down over that existing column. We will be adding a new column to match, so that's balanced with the new steel doors in between. We do propose to move one of the existing outdoor covered patio lights that you see in number 2 to the outside patio column in number 3. So just so there's lights when you exit. And then if you scroll down to the next one, east elevation, you don't see any changes there. That's what faces Meadowbrook. But as you go down to number 2, this is what you see from the neighboring property. On the existing, you can see that there's that covered trellis patio on the left-hand side, and then it'll be infilled with stucco and windows, and all details will match. So we'll have a brick header, and we'll have the same roof tile and roof details there. The one consideration here is that we are converting 110 square feet of covered non-livable to livable, which does exceed the recommended allowance. Yeah. Yes.
Okay, all right. Is that concluded?
That's it.
Okay, thank you.
How does the FAR change, please? Is that on your sheet somewhere?
Yeah, so we're 525 square feet over, but that's just increasing it. We're increasing it by 110 square feet. We were already over prior to this, so now we are 525 square feet over.
So you do not have an FAR worksheet on these plans, is that correct?
That's correct. I think it was sent in separately.
Yes, that's correct, it is.
I found it, John.
Yeah.
So what does it say there?
115.
115.
Okay, there we go.
Oh yeah, sorry.
And what was it before? Nobody has a number for before.
No, I can probably.
All right. Okay, well, we'll go to questions while we're tallying, if you can. Let's go to questions of the board. Claire, did you have any questions?
Yeah, has this been to Innsbruck? I know they have their own little review team over there.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, we have done our conceptual with them, and it has received approval, conceptual approval.
So would you make sure that you bring that letter, for the file?
Yeah, I think it should be in there actually already.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I didn't see it earlier, so.
It's in the file, Claire, here.
Okay, thank you, Matt. Thank you, Dave.
Great, all right. John Watson, did you have any questions?
Yes, do I correctly understand that you designed this house originally?
Yes, the firm I work for did.
In your opinion, had you been told that you would be required to provide a sitting room off the master bedroom, would have you designed it this way?
Actually, I think we would have, because it's ideally where you would want it located. It would be an extension of the master bedroom, and you want to sit and look at the views. So I don't think you want to increase the mass height. I like that it ties in, with the architecture. So I think it's a great location and style.
Well, I'm not asking so much about the location. That's sort of a given. I was wondering about the architectural rendition that you came up with here. Is this sort of, well, we have a flat roof, so let's keep it, versus this is how we would have done it with a sloping roof? Or
Yeah, I think I would have liked to tie it in with the sloping roof. I don't want to increase the overall ridge height on that side of the house. I like that the massing steps down. So I like that.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you, John. Sam, questions?
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. So that was one of my questions is what is the roof over this sitting room? And I think that was just answered. It is a flat roof, correct?
No, it's an extension of the clay roof tile down there. So it'll be
Oh,
clay
there
roof
it
tile.
is.
Mhm.
Just for me to see at the smaller scale. So that will come off. So that'll be a broken pitch that comes off of that pitch
Correct.
roof gable end of that west side, or is that a hip form that comes off of?
No, yeah, it'll break. It'll pitch break there and come down and just extend down. Mhm.
And the roof beyond it is a hip? Okay, I see.
Yes. Mhm.
Great. And then the other question I had is that fireplace that's out in the, I guess it's the main backyard porch, is that existing? And so
It
that,
is.
that chimney is part of two flues that go up in it already?
So yeah, let's go back to that
Or
floor
maybe
plan.
it's two separate fireplaces, one in the master bedroom and one
One on the
out
covered
on the
patio.
porch.
Correct.
And does that fireplace kind of bulge into the footprint or the floor plan?
It does.
It does, of the sitting room. Okay, I was not
Yep.
clear on how the fireplace
Yeah.
configurations work.
Mhm.
Okay, that's all. Oh, one more question. In the site plan, existing conditions along that western property line, do you have good screening existing? Is it something that you would be adding any screening for this configuration or this additional square footage? Is that something that?
We have really great screening right now. It did come up in the Ennisbrook review with the neighbor and my client that they would be open to discussing, you know, as they look, you know, as we move forward with this design, if they feel like there needs to be any more additional screening, that they would be open to the discussion. It's not planned right now, but they're both open to it if they feel they need it.
Okay, that's all the questions. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Sam. Don Sharp, any questions? Don?
Excuse me, no questions. Thank you.
Okay. Dave Bender, questions?
Nope, no questions, Bill.
Okay. So I have a question. So you're actually leaving the columns and the brick capitals. And
Yeah,
then,
so we have one existing column and we're adding another one. So we're matching it on the right-hand side.
and you're leaving the capitals, the brick capitals
Yep.
exposed, sticking out proud of the wall.
Correct.
Okay, just wanted to clarify that.
Yeah.
Okay.
There is some existing stone on that, you know, on the back side of that fireplace, and the client really likes, she's going to keep that as well. She kind of likes that it feels like this old enclosed covered patio type feel.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. Okay. Did I get everybody? I think I got everybody. Questions? Let's go to public comment. Is there anybody in the audience that'd like to speak to this item 6? 1711 Midwick Place. Yeah, anybody?
Mr. Chair, I do not have any requests to speak.
No requests. All right, let's close public comment. We'll go to board members' comments. John Watson, what are your comments on this?
Okay, number one, you are over the FAR that we normally approve, and what we ask is that people do prepare an FAR study so that we have full documentation and can make an intelligent decision based on surrounding properties. I have no idea. I do know that Ennisbrook tends to have large houses.
Yeah.
And so this FAR study may be quite easy to accomplish, but please provide it. That's number one. Number two, as you might have guessed from my queries, I think that there are 3 basic ways that you could have attacked this problem architecturally. Number one is what you did now. Number two is to say, you know what, I love this wood trellis. I'm going to work with a new wood flat roof above this trellis and maintain that look and feel of that trellis and really make it look like it was some very special little jewel box
Mm.
by the quality of the detailing. And the third one would have been to turn a hip or turn the gable
Yeah.
or put in a hip, whichever way you wanted to go, and take it the other way.
Yeah.
Of those three, my personal opinion is that you took the one that is least successful as a piece of architecture. Now, others may disagree. You may disagree, but I'm asked to render my opinion. That is my opinion. Now, Dave, if you could go down to that elevation on the bottom, please. I notice that you have told the truth and the whole truth, which I appreciate, showing that gutter. And I think that gutter or downspout, I think that downspout really kind of says it all. And if you had either of the other two options I laid out, you could turn that gutter over on the other side, and it would feel like the house actually was meant to be one of the other two. So I don't know how other members would feel about what I've just said. I don't know how you feel, but I would love to see studies of those, either one or both of those options, to see if you feel that it is more consistent with this building that you've designed. So those are my comments, Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, John. Sam, your comments.
Well, I'm just trying to absorb kind of what John's thoughts were on the options. I guess looking at this elevation, I don't object to closing this in, and I don't think the square footage, if we can look at the FAR comparisons, bothers me enclosed. I just look at the brick capitol and the roof eave going to the west, kind of being short of the capitol. I just wonder if that's going to be an awkward looking architectural corner. So would it be better if the eave extended further west and captured that, or the wall?
Yeah, I think so. I think it
Something,
needs to come out a little bit more. Yeah.
something on that corner. If I were to see it in 3 dimensions and look at it, I think maybe John's point is well taken by me, that maybe architecturally that solution isn't really worked out the best that it could be. So I'm not objecting to the overall feel of what you're doing, except the details of that corner look a little raw still, and maybe aren't going to work with the beauty of the rest of the house. So it needs to be tied in better, and maybe brick column kind of capping is something that you reconsider, maybe to keep it cleaner. Maybe it works, but I think the eave needs to come out and absorb it more. So maybe that's where I'm conflicted a little, is studying that. Thank you, Bill.
All right, thank you, Sam. Dunn Sharp, what are your comments?
Thank you. Well, I agree with the previous comments that this is not quite worked out yet, as the applicant has indicated. The house has, quite a bit of serendipity, and this could be tied in to look like it was meant to be originally. And I don't think this solution is it yet, but I think, it's got a ways to go, but I don't have a problem with the FAR enclosing it as additional space for the master suite. I think it's quite doable and just needs some massaging. Thank you.
Okay.
All right, thank you, Don. Claire, your comments.
I'm kind of over there with Mr. Watson, with Sam Mapus, and Don Sharp. Is something, when I look at this elevation that's in front of us, it just looks awkward. It looks like, I don't know, especially the big capital thing, and then the roof goes over that, and it's kind of like the detail in there, kind of, I'm going, wait a second, what's going on? So other than that, and so that's where I would be tending towards their comments. And as far as the FAR, I have no problem with the FAR, because I don't feel that the applicant really needs to do a neighborhood study, because ultimately every house in Innsbruck is in this range. And actually, this one, given what the agenda says, it's actually on the smaller range than most of the houses in this book. So I don't have a problem with the FAR overage, and but I do wish that you would relook at what you've done here.
Yeah, which I think we can definitely do.
All right, thank you, Claire. Let's see, Dave Mindro, what are your comments?
Well, I don't have a problem with the FAR at all. It's not impacting anything. And that given its location on the site, I think you could even get away with what you have. But it is awkward. And but I think from the interior, it really does improve the house for the owner. So I can support it. But my immediate thoughts were along the lines of John's. I went, well, a flat roof or a hip roof would integrate much better, but the hip roof doesn't really fit with the hip beyond.
Yeah.
And so I would just suggest you study it some more and see if you can come up with something better.
Sure.
But given what you're achieving with your client and the fact that nobody's ever going to see this, including people visiting the house because it's back there, I could live with this too. But I think it'd be worthwhile to improve it if you can.
Sure.
All right, thank you, Dave. I agree. I think that the cap on the top of the column feels a little unfinished to me, that it gets the feeling like it was just sort of infilled in there, which I know that may be what you were trying to achieve, but I don't think it's a successful result. I think you can come up with a solution though that'll work better. The other thing I would note that your 2 and 12 pitch might be a challenge on a 2-piece mission tile.
Yeah.
You'll have to definitely waterproof the heck out of that.
Yeah, to be like 2.25. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So I think research that. I don't have any problem with the FAR being a little over. I don't think it's increasing the massing necessarily. A little bit of the interior square footage add is probably not going to make a whole lot of difference there. So I'd be okay with it being over the allowable FAR. Yeah. So I think you're really close. I think just sort of detailing that out, and you've got a planner. You're here for concept review. So do we just leave it at that, or can they come back for preliminary because they have a planner?
Well, I would recommend we recommend to the planner that they come back at preliminary.
Yeah. Okay, let's do that.
That's
all right.
Okay, very good. Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys. I really appreciate it.
Okay, let's go on to item 7, 222 Butterfly Lane. Do we have the applicant online for that item? Michael,
turn on your there.
There we go. Okay.
All right. Can you guys hear me?
We can now. Yes. Michael, go
Oh,
ahead.
great. Perfect. All right. Good afternoon. This is Michael Stroh with DMHA. This project is 222 Butterfly Lane. I was in front of you guys about, 12 or 13 years ago on this house, and we took a 1960 house that was pretty tired and added a pretty substantial remodel onto that, including new driveways and gates and motor court and addition, things like that. And part of that project actually permitted, we got approval from you guys on a pool. And if you were to zoom in to where the pool is shown on the site plan here, you can see that I have dashed in, the heavy dashed line is where the original pool and spa was to be located, that you guys approved in 2008. And the pool was never built. And so the owners came back to me a few months ago and said, well, we want to build a pool, and which is fine. And planning said, oh, it was already approved. So, and you guys are only rotating at 90 degrees, no big deal. Okay. So, but subsequently, the owners also said, well, at the end of the spa, sort of facing our house and, kind of capping off the end of our pool, we want an outdoor fireplace and fountain wall, just to kind of capture the end of the space. And so if you go to, and so that's really all we're doing is this. The pool is already permitted and everything else. So all we're doing is doing an outdoor fireplace with a screen wall. So if you go to the next sheet with the photos, I'm going to show you guys. When we did this house in 2008, Sam was actually the landscape architect, and we put along the eastern side of this raised yard, we put pittosporum, which have just grown in unbelievably. They're about 10 feet tall. It's pretty substantial. If you go to photo number 7, you can see this is looking out from the existing residence towards where the pool will be, and then we want to build our wall directly in front of this. The coral tree that's to the left is scheduled to be removed as part of the pool project. So that would be gone. But the pittosporum hedge, and then there's an intermix of pittosporum on the right-hand side leading towards Butterfly Lane. There's an intermix of pittosporum and then like acacia, or not acacia, I'm sorry, cypress, Italian cypress. And so it's a pretty heavy screen. And so if you zoom out a little bit, there's a photo of, I think it's the photo immediately to the right of this. Yeah, so this is what it looks like from Butterfly Lane. This is the lower driveway that comes into the lower garage, and there's some site walls, some site retaining walls with stone. But you can see it's heavily, heavily landscaped from the street. You can't see this elevated yard at all. And so, so our plan is to, let's see, if you go to photo number 6, you can see that even around the house, the landscaping is very, very heavy. It's a pretty simple, low-slung house. It's got a really rough troweled plaster finish, wood windows, simple, clean details, solid cornice with slate roof, and they've added some awnings over the years. So what we wanted to do is create just an end cap for their pool that would be that same sort of kind of just simple traditional feel. And so what we did is we did a raised hearth isokern that would be clad in the same type of cut sandstone as the site walls that are existing. And then it would have on either side, it would actually have 2 little fountain troughs that would have spillways that equal the mantle height of the fireplace, and then that would be flanked on either side by a masonry wall that would just have 2 little columns with simple caps, and then some sort of decorative pot or urn or something on top of either of those. And then the chimney itself would be just a straight, relatively simple shape, but in kind of fitting with the forms of what they have on site currently. And so the materials again would be the cut sandstone and sort of decorative plaster that would be that heavy troweled modern finish, mottled finish, not modern, and that's about it. And it provides it actually provides a nice little screen. You'll be able to walk behind it to get to the pool equipment, and that'll be screened from the house. There's still ample, if you go back to the site plan, you can see where that's at. So we've pulled it off of the property line. It's about between 5 and 8 feet off of the property line and off of that big, tall screened hedge. And so then you would walk down behind there to get to the pool equipment, which is shown down below another section of retaining wall that's there. That's pretty much it. It's a pretty straightforward little project. We're not adding onto the house. We're not building a pool cabana or ADU or anything like that. And we feel that the whole thing nestles in there with the pool and with the existing landscaping really well. And with that, I turn it back over to the board.
All right, thank you, Michael. Let's go to questions of the board. Sam, do you have any questions? Sam, you there? Sam? Okay.
Sorry, I was muted. Yeah, I agree, Michael, that it's screened quite well. I guess my concern is it looks like it's just encroaching into what is that dashed line setback by quite a bit. And so both the pool equipment and the improvement is such that I'm just concerned about how close it is to, let's just say, the hedge and maybe the neighbor, and could it be slid back at all in the configuration and not sacrifice too much decking? It seems like it's I don't know how long the pool is, but the spa is pretty big, maybe not in length, but I guess that's my question. Is there any room to move it around? And it is a little bit in the encroachment aspect of concern. So that's enough for now.
Okay, thank you, Sam. Claire, what are your questions? If you have any.
Can we scroll up or shift up the drawing? I'd like to see how close okay, there's the neighbor. No, yeah, that's what what is that building we see?
That is a pool cabana.
That's a pool cabana. Okay.
Yeah, I designed that. Yes, I designed that house as well. That is a pool cabana. Oh.
And so that is outside of the side yard setback or the rear setback? Because this whole thing encroaches into the rear yard setback, and that's my concern, is that it's all inside the rear yard setback.
And we asked,
So,
I was going to say, maybe we can ask Kimberly the question, can they have this structure we're talking about, both equipment and this fireplace and site wall, in the setback?
So the pool equipment needs to be located a minimum of 5 feet from any property line. And a detached accessory structure can be located entirely within the rear yard setback, provided that it's 12 feet or less in height.
Thank you, Kimberly.
Thank you.
Okay, well, those are the questions that I had.
Okay, all right, thank you. Don Sharp, do you have any questions?
No, I don't. Thank you.
All right.
Oh, I have one other.
Okay.
Is this a wood burning fireplace?
Could be.
no, it'll be gas.
It's gas. Okay.
Michael, didn't you say it was isochrone though? You could burn wood in it.
Oh, so you can burn wood in it. Yes, correct.
Yeah. Okay. Dave Mindro, questions?
No questions, Bill. Thanks.
And I didn't. So one question, are you proposing any pool equipment site wall screening? You've got planting there between the neighbors, but is there any site wall wrapping? I see on the front side, it looks like maybe there's some
So it's
site work there.
Yeah, Bill, what happens is it ramps down fairly significantly on both sides of the hedge that runs along the property line. It dives down about a good 4 feet from sort of the elevation of the yard. And this is consistent on both sides of the fence. So it's already fairly sunken. And what happens is on the street side, there's already the heavy landscaping that runs above the site wall. That's the Italian cypress intermixed with the pittosporum. And then there's the big hedge that runs there along the property line. There isn't any specific, additional screening wall, but we've located the pool equipment more than 5 feet away from the property line. We've actually worked with the pool guys and provided the specs to the planning department because they had that actual question with regard to the pool. And the planning department okayed that location for the pool equipment. So the pool equipment is actually not under this permit. It's under the already approved pool permit.
So I probably confused myself looking at that front view of the street. So it actually, from the pad elevation of the pool equipment, what's the difference in elevation between that and your neighbor's property? Is it like a 3-foot drop between your neighbor and?
No, there's really none.
There's no.
No, because both, if you look just to the left-hand side of the pool equipment, you see we've got a landscape screen towards the street, and then you see a retaining wall, and there's a top of wall and a bottom of wall right there.
Oh.
That wall is continuous with the neighbor's wall. And so what you're seeing at the street is way down at like 94, 95. The top of that wall is at like 99. And so both properties are at that level. And then the pool deck itself is at like, I don't remember what the height is.
So it's going.
It's fairly high up from there.
Going up the street, and then I guess my question is, there a site wall between your neighbor and that pool equipment? It looks like there's something.
Yes.
Yeah.
There is, yes.
There's a site wall there.
There is.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So you've already got kind of a block screen there.
It's pretty well down there in terms of where it is in relation to anything else.
Yeah.
Kind of buried in a hole, if you will.
Yeah. Okay. Got it. All right. That was my question.
And Mr. Chairman, may I ask a question?
Yes, John.
Thank you.
Yes.
I have two questions. One, have you developed a design that would not extend above the existing pittosporums?
Yes.
And do you want to talk to us about that?
In terms of, I mean, the pittosporum, the existing pittosporums, although they are not shown on the section right here on the left-hand side of the drawing, I could easily show them. The existing pittosporums are about the same height as the chimney, essentially.
Well, I thought you represented that they were 10 feet above the grade, and this is 11 feet 4 inches above some kind of a finished deck. So
it projects. They project. It's about, the pittosporums would project to about the bottom of the little doghouse on top of the chimney.
Very good, thank you. So
yeah.
And have you discussed that with your client or no? As an alternative?
To make it lower?
Yeah.
No.
Okay, that's question number one. Question number two, Sam or Claire, on commercial pools, I believe it's 5 feet minimum distance between an object like this and the edge of the water surface. Is that also true for residential pools, or is that only for commercial pools?
You mean, John, the clearance between a walking clearance?
Yes, exactly.
I don't think there's a minimum residential.
Okay.
You could have the coping sitting right next to it, so it's just a, it basically, the fireplace maybe could be right on the spa.
Very good, thank you. That's the question that I have.
Thank you, John. All right, did I get everybody? Questions? Everybody? Okay. Let's go to public comment. Is there anyone in the audience that'd like to speak to this item number 7, 222 Butterfly Lane?
Mr. Chair, we don't have any speakers.
No speakers. Well, you don't sound like Leah anymore.
No.
Leah had to go to a meeting, so you've been downgraded to David.
David, okay. Well, we'll struggle through that.
Such a bold voice, David.
You guys, I've been watching this. You guys are doing really great. You have to say, very impressed with all of you.
All right, thanks. Okay, we'll close public comment and we'll go to comments of the board members. Claire, what are your thoughts on all this?
For me, I get it's an approval project, but it's somehow this crowding of it trying to create this outdoor fireplace in line with the pool that's obviously already there. And it really crowds that property line. And I get that it's approvable, but there's something that's sort of irritating to me. So that's one of my comments. The other comment is that, Michael, I would really like you to come back with, oops, somebody's on their phone. With a study of the, we could go back to the picture of it. There's something, can we go just to the draw? Yeah, yeah, here, perfect. There's something about this, especially these pots on top of the whole thing, on either side, these columns with the pots on the top, really is somehow inconsistent with the photographs that you show of the house. This is much more formal, much, yeah, like, see, the house is like really sweet. And then all of a sudden there's this very formal thing with pots on the top and everything. So I'd like you to, when you come back, to kind of look at that a little bit for me. You know, I don't think it needs to be so formal and fancy. That's my, those are my comments.
Okay. All right. Is that it, Claire?
Yes.
Thank you. Don Watson, what are your comments?
Don Watson?
Or John.
Whoever.
You know who you are.
The one that I'm mixed up with usually is my father, Tom Watson, but he's no longer with us, so. Okay.
Sorry. It's late. I don't know.
That's fine. Dave Mendro's comment, let's keep the thing moving earlier on. You know, it's okay with me, Michael. I think that Claire's comment about inconsistency of style is well taken. I think that there's a way to knock off that, you called it a doghouse, whatever you want to call it, and get it down below the hedge. I don't, you know, if you absolutely came back and said, I have to have this, there's no other design I can possibly have, I'd probably vote for it. But I think that you could come up with something that's just a little bit more Montecito as opposed to a gentle walk with the Italians. So that's my comment.
Okay, great. Thank you, John. And to Don Sharp.
Thank you. I agree with John. And a couple others. I think that the formality of it is over the top, and the symmetry, and it certainly doesn't look like it belongs on the property of the home that's going to be built on. But you know, that being said, if that's what they want, and they understand what they're getting, it's okay with me.
Thank you, Don. Sam Maphis, your comments?
Yeah, thank you, Bill. So I agree with kind of the over the top comment. I think maybe the spillways could be lowered down and be the height of the firebox. Maybe there's a centerpiece that's more dominant, but that the wing pieces and pots might have a little more of a casual or that's less dominant symmetry to it. But I like the element. I think it'll be quite handsome at the end of the pool. I just feel like it's pushing itself into that hedge, Michael, in a way that I'd like you to come back and either give it some breathing room against the hedge, or prove to yourself that the hedge, as it's being trimmed in that nice configuration your photographs show, is not going to be encroached upon, that there's room to keep the hedge nice and dense. Maybe it looks to me like you're coming within 3 feet of the property line, and I would imagine that means you're cutting into that, I imagine, 4 or 5 foot pittosporum thickness hedge. So I'd like you to kind of document that true edge of the pittosporum and preserve that and allow that to be maintained in that nice dense way. And then press this, let's say this back of your facade up in there towards it as much as a breathing room allows for good maintenance of that. And maybe that means maybe squeezing the patio down because the pool's not built, is my understanding. Maybe the pool gets a little less length. Maybe it squeezes a little closer to the spa. Maybe, you know, some of those things just need some breathing room. I understand now that's helpful to know that the equipment can be 5 feet away, but I would not like the big furnace to be burning right into the hedge and cooking the hedge, you know, that is that pittosporum hedge. It seems to me like if the heater's on that end, your fire exhaust coming out of that heater is going to burn that section of hedge up because it's pressed right up against the pittosporum. I hope you get where I'm going. I'm just trying to give you flexibility to have and create something nice, but make sure it fits in the puzzle of your land there. It seems like you're pushing this edge too much. So I want you to come back and study that and make sure it works. Thanks.
Is it, excuse me, Chair, Mr. Chair, is it accurate? What is it? Is it the pool has been permitted and not built, or it's
Correct.
already been built?
That's what I understood, right, Michael?
It is about to start construction. Right.
Oh, got it.
in the
Okay,
next-
okay. So
Yeah,
so it
so-
could get changed. Okay.
So could you study all
Theoretically.
those boundaries and those dimensions is what I'm saying.
Yeah. Yeah, and to answer, I mean, Sam, to be clear, we measured the hedge in the specific location as to how it's been trimmed in the field, and it provides, there's a 3-foot gap at the absolute minimum end between where the hedge gets trimmed currently and where the edge of our wall is. So it wouldn't, we weren't, I mean, we very specifically went out there and measured the hedge as to where it
Okay.
where it is.
Just,
So,
Yeah.
you understand
Yeah.
from the drawing, it doesn't look like there's room, but
Oh,
you've
no,
done
no,
that.
I totally understood. Yeah, yeah. We've actually been out there and very specifically laid everything out, including the wall and the hedge and all of it, to make sure that we are doing exactly what you're talking about and avoiding creating issues with the landscaping.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Okay, that's good.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Thank you, Sam. Dave Mender, what are your comments?
Well, I'm exactly aligned with Sam. I think it's really important that the hedge is preserved, and typically I'd be really concerned about doing this element so close to the property line when you have room to move it the other direction. On the other hand, this configuration does benefit the neighbor in that it can reduce some of the sound from the spa and the pool. And it is lower than the hedge that for the most part, so visibly they don't see it. So I'm on the fence on this one. I would prefer that it shift over a couple more feet just to make sure everything fits. But I would want to be absolutely sure that that hedge is maintained and there's adequate distance, as Sam said. And then I'm going to tag on with the other comments. I think the design's over the top. It doesn't seem appropriate to the house to me, but if the client likes that and they want to treat this as a folly and something really different than the house, then I guess I could see that. But to me, it doesn't fit the house. But, you know, in my mind, that's the client's decision because it's not, visually, it's not impacting the community or the neighbors.
All right. Thank you, Dave. Yeah, I think I agree with all the comments that I've heard. That the other thing that I think is interesting is that it probably be nice to have a little bit of space between the top of the spa and the bench where you could actually have seating in front of the fireplace. You're not really able to do that in this particular design, and maybe the idea is that you're enjoying the fireplace from the spa, but you certainly won't feel it down at the ground there. So it seems like if you pushed everything toward the house and gave yourself a little more breathing room between the neighbor and the back of the wall, that the whole thing would fit a little better. But you know, that's it is what it is. The other thing, in terms of the architecture of the fireplace and the details, I think the moldings and the urns on top are probably more than is necessary. You know, again, if you just remove the urns, that would probably make a big difference right there. And maybe not so much molding, because it doesn't look like the house. And maybe you just need to show us that there's more molding on the house, and the detail of the house has got more of what we're not seeing in the picture that you have. So it's a little hard to tell, but it looks like the house is very simple, almost Adobe-like, single story, and that you've got a lot of moldings and trim and stonework on this fireplace element. So I mean, I would encourage you to simplify that if you could. Otherwise, you know, again, it's not a make or break for me. If you had to leave some of it, that's fine. So you're here for concept only, is that right? And so I mean, is everybody okay? We haven't come back for preliminary. I mean, they could probably take it further with details, I suppose.
Yeah, well, that's up to the planner. Our recommendation would be that this come back based on the planner. You know.
For another review, yeah.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
I think that there's two issues floating around here. One is location, and if that's not okay, he should come back for further concept. The second one is architectural detailing. If everybody's okay with location, I think we can work out whatever we need to the next meeting, or pop it into consent for just the last couple things. So I think that, Mr. Chairman, I'd recommend that you query our full board to see what we think about location, and that will help us determine what kind of review we have next.
Again, maybe a question to Michael too. I mean, with what you're hearing from us, do you feel like you're going to put an effort into trying to massage this location of all these things?
Yeah, to answer your question, Bill, given where they're at with the pool and what it already took them to get the permits, I don't think they're going to be interested in moving it, quite honestly. And to that end, it becomes a question of, you know, like I said, we spent a lot of time in the field with this client to talk about how they use their yard, talk about how they want to use their pool, and then talk about how this would relate to that and how it would relate to the hedge. So the client was absolutely adamant about having a minimum 3-foot wide pathway between the hedge and the wall. I mean, we spent a lot of time going through this. I don't think they're going to want to move it.
Mr. Chairman, would you please query each of us and ask us where we're coming down on that?
Yeah, okay, I'll start with you, John. What's your feeling on the location?
I don't love it, but I think it's okay.
Okay, Sam, how about your thoughts?
Yeah, based on Michael's comments of the dimensions they've studied, and there's going to be an easing of 3 feet for maintenance, and you know, those kinds of issues are very important, and it sounds like he went through them. So I'm okay with the location.
Okay, Dave, location good or not?
I'm the same with Sam, but it would be nice if you document that on the plans, you know, 3-foot minimum clear, preserve the existing hedge as is, just to confirm that it's going to be that way in the end.
Yeah, show the edge of the hedge, show the 3-foot clearance to your wall at its closest point, you know, so that just double checks you in the field.
Absolutely.
Don Sharp, your thoughts on the location?
I think it's okay the way it is. Comment was made to move the spa and pool away from the fireplace, but then you're creating a large area to congregate and generating a noise generating center. So I think the way it is now is best for the neighbor.
Okay.
I have a quick question for Michael. So in your kind of next step of configuring your construction documentation, would you be going down with some kind of caisson for this because you've got water? Would you not have a spread footing? Because then you're going to go into the roots of the pittosporum when you're starting to excavate. So I just want you to try to figure out those types of things when you're working that close to the property line.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, we're still waiting for Ms. Gottdenker and yourself to vote on location.
John, I'm okay with the location, but I want a reconsideration of the design of this thing.
Yep, that.
I mean, that's all. I mean, it's okay where it is, but I don't want, if we're gonna go with the same design, then I'm not okay where there is. But if it's kind of, brought down a little bit, made it look like the house rather than, how it occurs to me, Michael, is that this looks like, although I know you've designed it and all of that, but it looks like one of those big giant fireplaces that you can order online and then dump them into the backyard. And that's how it occurs. And that's why I want you to really look at the total design and get it softer and get the pots off the top and, the things that I mentioned before. Yeah.
I won't take that personally, Claire. That's fine.
Yeah. No, I know. I mean, it just but that's how it occurs to me. I mean, and I've been in the, I've had clients that's what they do. They go and order one of these things and they put it in their backyard.
And Bill, how are you on location?
I'm fine with location, so I'd say let's do the okay on the location. And it sounds like from the consensus that if you can simplify and match more of the house with the aesthetic of the fireplace, that we okay it. So.
And I think it ought to come back for preliminary and final. It's a fireplace, guys.
Yeah,
I would agree with that.
Do the,
John, that's exactly what I was going to ask. So I appreciate that if that's what you guys are willing to do.
I think we're good for that. So anyway, work with your planner and we'll see you back here when you can get in.
Okay.
All right, great. Thanks, Michael.
Thank you much. Yep.
Last item, number 8, 754 Winding Creek Lane. We're here for preliminary and final approval. Argus, are you online? Oh, here's comments from last meeting. Architecture modest and appropriate in scale. Return with details on existing and proposed hardscape, landscape, and site features. Fencing walls, grade change, pool deck, and new studio, etc. Consider adding screening hedge along applicant's western property line. Consider relocating pool equipment further from neighbor. Applicant to work with land use planner to flush out plans. Nargis, are you there?
Yes.
Okay, let's maybe you can address those items on the list.
So with per your request, we added some vegetation, additional row of vegetation on the next to the pittosporum, that existing pittosporum hedge. And that one is about between 14 and 16 feet tall. So we added another row of podocarpus in front of that to change the material. And we added also, we are relocating most of the vegetation within the property. This property is fully landscape property. It has a lot of avocado trees. We are keeping 90% of them. And as you can see, we added this is basically the property. This is the location of the pool and landscaping to remain as is.
Okay, all right. And did you, let's see, did you, this for final, you're here for final?
Yes, correct, correct.
Have lighting?
We have got the approval from fire department, from flood control, from septics. We have everyone's approval, and your question mainly was with the landscaping.
I was asking about building lighting, if you have lighting and fixtures. Colors.
Yes, we added the lighting into the.
Do we have a lighting plan?
What's that?
For the landscape lighting?
Well, do you have landscape lighting?
well, we do not have a landscape
You don't have land.
lighting on this plan. No, we do not have it on this one because we don't have many landscape lighting within the existing property.
Do you have it on any plan?
Solar. I'm sorry?
Do you have landscape lighting on any plan?
Yes, the one that we have, the landscape lighting, I think it is there is this one that was approved. We added it to the plan. I'm not sure if you can see it on here or not. It is this the canopy, like a little canopy head lighting. It is in here. You can see it on the building.
Do you have landscape lighting, something that's not on the building?
We do not have that because we have solar. The rest of the property has solar landscape lighting. We have a lot of wild animals around, and we do not have any night lighting at all in this property. We only have few on the front, which are solar lighting, and we have 3 on the creek side, which is a solar lighting on the outside.
And the light fixture you have,
It's an approved light fixture that we got it, we added onto the system.
I see an element of it on the elevation, but I don't see a cut sheet or anything for it.
I can provide the cut sheet, but we have it, is one of the approved per county approved lighting.
And then I was looking for details too. I'm not trying to circumvent the system here, everybody. If you want, I can go through questions.
You will not find details.
Yeah.
Oh, there aren't any details?
There are some county standard details about high fire, but nothing about this project in particular.
Well, let's go quickly through questions, I guess. Does anybody have any questions? John, did you have any questions about anything on here?
No, thank you.
Okay. Claire, did you have any questions? Claire.
I don't think so. I'm just confused that no, I guess I don't have any questions at this point, except I'll make my comments afterwards.
Okay, all right. Sam, did you have any questions?
No questions.
No. Don Sharp, questions?
No questions, thank you.
And Dave Mendro, did you have any questions?
No questions, Bill.
Okay. No. I have one question. I guess the roof in your section there, are you doing an overhang? Does this match the house?
Yes, matches the house exactly. It's the same detail as the house.
So it just squares right off of the fascia. Is there a fascia board there or something? Is that what's going on?
Yeah, let's look at the elevations.
Yeah.
It is a fascia board and it's plastered under it. It's a stucco under the fascia board. It's all stucco.
Oh, and it just
Very short.
no
Yes.
overhang at all then on this.
There are 2 areas of the house has no overhang, as you can see it from the street view. And I did send a lot of pictures with that. And this house was remodeled, I believe, in 2002. And it has 2 different, you can see in the front. This is the front of the house. This is the front entry.
Okay, so it looks like the plaster just goes right there.
Yes.
Maybe a little molding or something.
Very little molding. And some areas, even on the other areas, doesn't even have that little molding.
Okay.
Yes, this is the area that the swab would be. This is the vegetation that you can see is existing backyard right now.
Okay, so it does have a look, it's like a scalloped gable end there, huh? A little
Yes.
plaster scallop
Yes.
detail on the end.
And this is exactly where the pool would, this is where the cabana, the previous picture is where the cabana, or not the cabana, sorry, it has to be called hobby room because of the, it's not a habitable space.
Okay. All right, those are my questions. Okay.
I have a question, Bill. Is there a landscape plan?
The landscape plan, what it is there, it's fully landscaped property. what we are trying to do, we are going to recycle everything. What we need to do is that to save all our plants, and this is what we have added on. If you can see, all is existing, and the only thing we're going to be adding on to this is relocating it. And there is another secondary row of the hedge added on to this per request by the board. We added a secondary row of hedge to protect us from the neighbor.
Right, but the drawing that I'm seeing is not a landscape plan. You know, because then my next question was going to be, to have you developed the irrigation plan with WELO and everything you have to do in order to do that?
The existing irrigation plan, what is existing, it does not affect that much because there were only drip irrigation onto this area that we are actually maintaining all of the sprinkler system onto that area, and we're running the drip system again. All the existing trees have the irrigation plan would not be affected. The only thing that would be affected is 4 citrus trees in this area. And where the hobby room is going to be was a vegetable garden. It was an existing vegetable garden that previous pictures you saw the area. And basically, really, if you take a look at it, it is a fully landscaped yard. And I'm not understanding if I need to re-landscape. I'm not going to remove much. I'm going to remove what I need to remove and replant it as I need it. We are not going to add, besides the hedge that was requested by the board, we're not going to add additional material. We're not going to be purchasing additional material except probably 50 podocarpus trees.
Okay, all right, let's go to, let's close questioning and go to public comment. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak to this item number 8?
We don't have more audience left.
There's the plan right there.
754 Winding Creek Lane. David, you said no one?
No, there's no one left.
No one left. Okay, good. All right, well, we'll close public comment. We'll go to board members' comments. John Watson, what do you say? We're here for preliminary and final, but I don't think we have enough to give final because we don't have details, and maybe the landscape architects can speak on.
It looks like there's a landscape plan right and on
the first sheet.
Yeah, it's right now. It's on the screen right now. This
Right.
is what I was asking for.
Yeah.
So yeah, they're just kind of, but there's no irrigation plan and there's no WELO calcs and there's all those things that we required that go along with the landscape plan. And that's a problem at final.
Okay,
So-
Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, go ahead, John.
I'd like to ask a question. Are you planning on subcontracting this out or contracting this yourself with a series of subcontractors? Or are you going to hire some landscape contractor and some building contractor to do this work for you?
The main building, the building and the pool will be licensed subcontractors.
But you don't hire subcontractors probably. Are you sure it's not a general contractor?
No, I'm not going to be hiring a general contractors. I am going to be I'm going to be hiring a subcontractors. I have worked in this town for 40 years.
Okay.
I run projects for others, and this is my personal home.
Okay.
I will run it as a project for myself, and I will run it with every licensed contractor, from the pool contractor to everybody else. The landscaping, I will take care of that myself.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. That's the end of my question. So are you looking for comments from me? Have we done public comments?
Yeah, we did that already. We're looking for comments now. So if you have some, and we got Claire's given us some input.
Okay, so here's the deal, from my point of view. We have asked every other applicant throughout the years to provide more details about actually how the building is going to get built and how it's going to look than what we're getting with this set of drawings. And had I known that it was going to be subbed out to somebody, or excuse me, there's a general contractor and perhaps they could provide those details to us on final, that's one thing. But I just don't know how this building's going to end up. I don't know. Excuse me, ma'am, I let you speak, so please let me speak.
Sure, sir.
So, you know, it's inconsistent with every other approval that I've been involved with for a little bit over 8 years now. So that's true on the one hand. On the other hand, she represents that she has professional experience for 40 years. I take her at her word for that, and that it's her own personal house, and the house looks pretty good. So I don't know what to do with this. It's easy for me to give it a preliminary approval. I don't know about final. So that's my comment, Mr. Chairman.
All right, thank you, John. I can chime into that at the end. I'll get everybody else's comments as well. Sam Maphis, what are your comments? Sam, are you there?
Sam, you're muted.
Sam, you're muted.
I'm sorry, I had unmuted. So I agree there's some gaps in the landscape plan and maybe some of the detailing. So I'd like it, I could see it for preliminary, getting that today, but I'd like to see it come back with plant sizes and quantities, specifically to the areas of the hedge and areas around the pool that you're going to be adding things that you've just discussed and are shown on the plans. I'd like that to clearly be called out, plant sizes and quantities. And then an irrigation plan to kind of show where the valves are, where the material is in the ground, if it's already there, show how it will work with the new materials to be planted, so we know that they will be successful. And then I think the WELO and those things will need to be fleshed out by the planner, but if it's under 2,500 square feet, there may not need to be much other than a Form D. So I think you can move along through that with the planning process pretty clearly once you have those things documented. So that's my feedback on the landscape side of it. And I trust that we're on the same page with some of the architectural details. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Sam. Don Sharp, what are your comments?
Well, I agree with my colleagues that we have to hold standards that we up for everyone, and I can concur that preliminary would be appropriate, but we've got to have all the details, even if it seems to the applicant that this is not necessary. We still ask it of everyone, and I think that's correct. Thank you.
Thank you, Don. Dave Mendro?
Yeah, so I'm gonna concur with Don. I think basically I'm fine with preliminary and final on consent with the details that are necessary for not only for our review, but for the building permit. So just a few more details showing how the building's going together and the key components, doors and windows and eaves, which are very standard and which you will need for the building department as well. And then the irrigation information that's necessary for the building permit. I don't think it's that far off, but we need those formal details, and I think you'll need them anyway as you move forward with the permit. And I think those can happen on final on consent.
All right, thank you, Dave. Yep, I think that's what needs to happen. I think we can give it preliminary, of course, today. I think you're certainly you've got the information started, but we need just a little more. And I would say, your details, mark the colors that if they're going to match, just say match existing house, roof tile and wall color and window and door frames. But we'll also want to see the details for the eave and rake. There is on the gable ends kind of a scalloped detail there for the plaster, repeat that and show that on the detail. And so eave, rake, and doors and windows, how you're finishing those out. Those all be neat for your building department.
Dark sky compliant light fixtures,
Right, yeah, if you could do a cut with the night sky compliant light fixture as well, that would be great. And then the landscape, as you heard from the landscape architects.
Well, I didn't get to weigh in yet, but.
Okay, go ahead, Claire.
Yeah, well, I started the beginning of this by requesting a landscape lighting plan. We still haven't reached, the applicant hasn't been forthcoming with that. And it doesn't matter whether you've got solar lights or electric lights for a landscape plan, that's the plan. You can draw up the plan and show us where the solar lighting is going to go. And, and whether those solar lights are night sky compliant. And so that's my request, is that I'm more than willing to give this preliminary, but I want all parts of this project to come back with all the information that's needed to give it final.
Yeah, okay.
David, Planner,
Oh, yeah.
please, or have we lost you, David? Planner?
There he is.
Yeah, okay. Can you please work with Veronica and this applicant to show the applicant examples of drawings that we normally review, the sort of the quality or the extent of the information on it, so that we get her to the point where she can produce that drawing, so we don't go through this 2 or 3 more times, which would be frustrating for everybody. Would you be able to do that?
Sure, no problem.
Very good, thank you. So, ma'am, if you'd like to contact David or Veronica, David can talk to Veronica and perhaps they can share some sample drawings from other projects to give you an idea what we're asking for, so there's no miscommunication.
Absolutely. Great.
And to that end, I will move for preliminary approval with the applicant to return on consent with complete drawings for final.
For final and consent. Okay, all those, I get a second?
I'll second it.
Seconded by Don. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, motion carries. All right.
David, thank you so much for your good work here again.
Yeah.
Thanks, David. Thanks, Bill. Good job.
Thanks, Bill.
Thanks, everyone.
And I will move for adjournment.
So
Yeah.
moved.
Okay,
So second.
so moved. Second.
Seconded by Sam. All right.
Aye.
All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Bye, guys.
Bye-bye. See ya.
Bye.
Thanks all.
Don Sharp's eating his lunch.